In a world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice, a flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian demons. These creatures thrive.
Why don't we just do, like, usually what we do is like 12 minutes per team, so why don't you just keep them? And let's
12
do
minutes
12 minutes per
is
team.
good. All right.
Let's see. There's something weird. Oh, it moves. Okay. Hmm. Thanks for your patience. Almost set. Is one last little picture load in here, and Shane, is this our first time hosting you on Modern Day Debate?
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay. Because I know I've seen your stuff on Twitter,
On
and
Twitter. Nice.
yeah.
I know I've emailed you a bunch, but you never got back to me because you only put on Witsit for like 2 years.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens.
It's accurate.
It's all right.
Yes, don't worry.
He's the GOAT or whatever.
Well, he is a very good debater. He is quick, he is confident, and for a lot of people, that peripheral stuff, at least temporarily, it appears persuasive.
Oof. Oof. I don't think I've ever talked to you backstage. My respect just dropped 3 points for you. He just says a lot of peripheral stuff, and then that by indirect consequence makes people believe him. Is that what you just said, James?
No, it's not like having kind of like central arguments or more peripheral stuff like confidence are mutually exclusive. You could have both, Professor. All right, here we go. Start stream. I am so stoked to have you guys here. It is going to be so fun.
Dude, I can react live, right? Look at that. Oh, that is cool. I didn't know I could do that.
Wow, that is cool. Let me just see really quick if the stream actually went where it's supposed to go, because lately it has been difficult. Oh, good, it did. All right, here we go. I'm going to do a quick cold open, and then Alan and Shane, are you guys okay with going first?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. So, Alan, are you cool with going first between the two of you?
Nope.
Absolutely. Oh,
No, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go and then you go.
Gotcha.
Okay, Shane. How do you go first, Shane? And then if you guys can do me a favor, actually we should be all right, but as a general rule, if you're able to, if you get naked or something, then just turn off your camera. But otherwise, like, don't worry about turning off your camera, because oftentimes it scrambles the zoom window on me. So feel free to like take a swig or a toke, and I have no judgment. So here we go, and I'm going to do that cold open in 3, 2, 1. Ready, set, here I go. Hey everybody, tonight we are debating flat Earth versus globe Earth, and we are starting right now with Shane and Alan representing the flat side. Thanks for being with us. The floor is all yours, Shane, for your opening statement.
Oh, actually, I have a quick video we can play to get us going. But what's up, everyone? Great to be here.
Okay, just to be sure, it's not copyrighted video, right?
No, it's one I made for this specifically.
Okay, you got it.
It does have Nicki Minaj in the background, though, right? Or did you take that out?
I think it's an AI appropriate copyright-free version.
No, we're good.
We need this, Shane. Go ahead, roll the footage.
All right, share video with volume. Share sound. There we go.
But don't make me shut it down, because if it is something that's copyrighted on YouTube, I have to
Ad hom. Paid $10 to ad hom.
There you go. All right. We can see your screen with the letters and the turtle and a bear in the background.
Do we get sound here? Can we hear everything?
We can do so without.
Yep. Sound. All right. Here we go.
I hear.
Wait, by the way,
I
this
do
isn't
hope
your
we
opening.
have a
This isn't your opening, is
educational
it?
discourse. I hope that we can use.
What?
This is not your opening, is it?
What do you mean opening?
Like your opening speech.
Oh, I thought that's what you were doing.
No, an opening speech is where you give it live,
What?
not pre-record it. I even put this in the description that because it's so annoying when people, it's a live debate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give a live opening. Don't play a recording of you like recording it earlier for some reason.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Right.
we're going to talk about the null hypothesis, right? In which case we put forth one hypothesis being our H naught, and we try to falsify it. And then if we don't falsify it, then we fall back to H1, right, as our alternative hypothesis. The way that we put forth our position on flat Earth versus globe is we frame it via the null hypothesis. So our actual position is H naught.
Okay, just to be sure, we can see your browser, but we can't see if you're showing something other than our browser, which conveniently it looks like your last search was a modern
my
day
bad.
debate.
Where'd the thing go?
You have way too many tabs open, by the way.
Yeah.
Makes
yeah.
me anxious every time he screen shares. That's way too many
Oh, no,
tabs.
it doesn't.
I'm a little nervous myself. One of these is bound to be illegal. Go ahead. That was a joke, folks. Come on. But it could be illegal.
Yeah. Boy, is that the one I'm sharing? All right, I got it. I got this. I didn't know
Perfect.
I couldn't do the thing that I set up, James. My bad.
People want it live. The mob wants more blood and they want it live.
Respect that. It looks like you're sharing the proper 69 mile per degree obsidian screen share.
Yeah, no, not that one. Hold on 1 second. There we go.
Apologies about that, guys. I did not forward those rules to Shane, and I didn't read them myself. I always do them live, so I didn't think about it.
Well, yeah, Alan, why don't you just go right now, actually? Just take it
Perfect.
over for a minute.
Sounds good. Just end screen sharing whenever you're.
All right, I just turned off the screen share. Alan, ready for you.
Oh, it popped back on.
Looks like Shane started sharing again. Shane, if Alan's going to present, he's got to be able to share his screen.
I didn't do anything. How do I turn it off?
Got a virus from going on those websites I told you not to go on. Now I stopped your sharing. Okay, go ahead. That was a joke. Come on. Go ahead, Alan. Floor is yours.
Yep, I'm trying to.
Am I still sharing?
No,
I don't. Content from. Oh, here we go. There we go.
You're making him.
There we go.
Okay, ready.
All right, you guys ready? Good?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to change the argumentation format to be in the form of a hypothesis versus a null hypothesis. The reason for doing this is we can analyze evidence in a way that gives falsification so that we can have a mutually exclusive outcome. So the Earth is either flat or it's either a globe. Now, if we falsify our null hypothesis, then that gives evidence that the Earth is likely a globe. So a quick refresher on how the null hypothesis works, you can turn to the US justice system, where innocence is presumed and that has to be falsified so that you can be convicted for guilt, right? So innocent until proven guilty is the staple here. So if you're going to provide something other than the null, you need to provide mutually exclusive evidence that can falsify that or show that that's likely false. Now, I can't tell you what the shape of the Earth is, but I can tell you what it likely isn't using this scientific method that's also approved for how drugs and whatnot are administered, like when they do surveys and stuff on them. All right, so we also have how we're going to interpret the measurements that are going to be put forward to show mutual exclusivity. And this is all going to be done optically, right? So like theodolite measurements, looking at the stars, positions of stars, etc. So we need to understand the visual field and the spatial field, where it is asserted by the mainstream that both are Euclidean, when in fact, there's a deviation from this spatial field. The spatial field is best represented by logarithmic geometry, in my opinion, because it's clearly not Euclidean. And what they put forward is that you can use curvature. You can use curvatures of different types. So hyperbolic, you can use negative curvature constants. You can use spherical curvature, all to describe different observations. But under different experiments, these different curvature theories fail to explain the physical location, the Euclidean three-dimensional location of an object under these experiments when they're done. So there is no unified optic theory that explains everything all at once unless you incorporate them all. That's why I say it's logarithmic, because along that scale, you could incorporate the hyperbolic, ecliptical, and spherical and linear geometry along that based off of relative distance to you. So this is an ongoing debate that's been going on since at least over a century now, since the mid 1800s. So in addition to that, astronomy is built up in how we perceive the stars in the realm around us is through a dome of vision. And this is true no matter what model you believe in. Here we have astronomy from a book from the 1920s, New and Old Astronomy, where they're talking about how we see in a dome. And this creates the illusion that we see the sky in a perceived dome, but that's just an illusion because the Earth is actually a sphere, so don't be tricked. But that's what they acknowledge and put forward, that we see a hemisphere of the sky projected into our dome of vision. And of course, this corresponds to ground positions, which will later be turned into a map. But still, it's important to understand how everything is apparent. We only see the apparent, never the physical. And this is also noted in a 1970s book on solar panels, where they note here, they say the sky dome is the visible hemisphere above the horizon in all directions, right? So what they're saying here is that relative to the time of year and relative to your latitude, you're going to perceive the sun arc across the sky as if it's in your dome of vision, and the elevation will correspond to your latitude and also the time of year. Now, NASA is explaining the same thing with the moon illusion, and where the moon appears bigger than they say it is for its physical size. And here's the diagram that they're giving about the true position of a celestial body versus the apparent that we see. And we never see the true, always the apparent, right? There's not two moons, there's not two suns. We only ever see the apparent. And here we have, so that's to understand that this is true on either model, no matter what you believe. Now, we have what we talked about earlier with the stars being mapped to ground positions here. So we have a coordinate system called the graticule. Well, this is represented by the latitude and longitude lines of this coordinate system. And this can be projected over different types. So we have cylindrical, conical, globular, azimuthal, equidistant. You can, anything that does this, that uses the lat long, as long as you use the corresponding corrections or use the projection in the correct way, you will get the desired outcome that will get you to where you're going with respect to positions of the stars. So if this is true on a flat Earth, where your azimuthal grid follows you around as you move relative to your latitude, you perceive the sky projected into a local dome, no matter where the physical objects are, if they exist at all, is true. Same for the globe here. We're looking at the exact same thing. These are equivalent. Neither one falsifies the other. They're all using the same latitude longitude systems, which is just indicative of a position of celestial bodies at a specific time. It does not assert any dynamics. So what's the proper way to analyze this? Are we going to look through a theodolite and simply say the Earth measures flat, the Earth measures globe? Well, no, that would be insane because we're not using an external reference, and the only external reference that we have is already asserted by the graticule. So we need to falsify that. So we're going to say that the Earth measures flat or it measures globular with respect to the stars. Right now, we're going to use empirical observation of the motion of the sky and the known positions of the stars and the units of measurement of distance that are derived from that graticule coordinate system with respect to those positions of the stars to test and do a falsification of our hypothesis and null hypothesis using the relative elevation angle based on how far away an observer is and the relative elevation between that observer and a physical obstruction, i.e. a mountain peak, for example. So we have an observer here and we have a distance and we have the elevation between them. We can use trigonometric functions to determine what that corresponding angle should be. Once we have that angle, we can go into stellarium. We can go on top of this mountain peak with that same exact angle. We could wait until a star matches up with that angle, and we could write down the time. We can wait down here on the ground at our observation point, and when we're looking in the sky, when that star intersects with that mountain peak at that specific time, if we can no longer see that star, that means that that star is physically obstructed by that mountain peak, right? We don't care about refraction or anything like that, because if it's no longer visible, it's no longer being refracted. That's all that matters. And this gives mutually exclusive outcomes based on the trigonometric functions because one is planar. So one will show the elevation angle of this being higher based on just the trig function. And the other one, removing 8 inches per mile squared away from the distance, will leave you with about minus 200 feet. So when we plot this out, we get two mutually exclusive predictions and outcomes for the positions of the stars and that mountain peak for the timing in which it gets occluded. It'll take longer for the star to get lower in the horizon, so the globe predicts a longer time, right? So what we have here is 39 measurements over 7 different mountain peaks in different locations and different times that show times that only correspond to a flat Earth. And when you use this trigonometric function here, where the altitude of the peak is equal to the altitude of the observer plus the distance to the peak times the tangent of the true elevation angle, you can backwards derive what the actual physical elevation would have to be to correspond to that angle. And you can compare plus or minus to the globe measurements. And from that, you can take differentials from the two and see which is true or not on average. And we don't have a single measurement that corresponds to globularity here. Now, I ask you, if alpha is equal to alpha, then by those trigonometric functions, the Earth is measuring planar with respect to the stars. That is a geometric falsification of our ability to falsify our null hypothesis, right? So if the Earth were a globe and we had different timings, if alpha did not equal alpha, then our null hypothesis would be falsified and the Earth would likely be a globe. And I would be here debating two other people as a glober. I'd be the glober debating two flat earthers, and I'd be zipping them up with this because this is a mutually exclusive measurement. You won't find any mutually exclusive evidence in this debate, very likely. All right, so to argue against this, you would have to suggest that trigonometry is an unreliable witness, which is ironically how the globe is supposed to be proven. So is Pythagoras a liar? Well, claiming that the Earth is a globe without mutually exclusive evidence is using and affirming the consequent fallacy. That's why we're using the null and null hypothesis analysis to apply to our cosmological and physical reality. All right, that is the
Thank you very
end.
much. Thank you very much. We'll kick it over to Shane. Thrilled to have you here as well. I'm going to pick, let's see, unless you're going to show Shane's PowerPoints from your side, Alan, in which case you can just pull those up. Otherwise, I'm going to cut off your screen share.
Yep, no worries. Go ahead and cut it off.
You got it. So let's see. Shane, what I'm going to do is I'm going to decline only because otherwise it'll show both your and Alan's at the same time. Let me just first stop participant sharing, and then I am ready for you, Shane, for your PowerPoint. If you want to hit that share button one more time.
There we go. All right, good. Oh, wait.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That.
Perfect.
Right. So to go along with what Alan said, we argue from the null hypothesis position, right? Our position here is Earth is planar and measurements of curvature are thus dependent on the position of celestial bodies. So we're going to offer some evidence that that is the case. Also, the alternative position would be the Earth is globular, right? And measurements of curvature are independent of celestial bodies. Not so, as we will see as we move forward, right? So some evidence we're going to put forth real quick is some laser measurements from FE Core done in 2018. Something you'll hear repeated often in these debates is that flat earthers never bring evidence, never bring measurements. As Alan just presented, we have celestial theodolite measurements and evidence, of which I believe, if you look at the summation, is about 39 different measurements from 7 different peaks. And over here, we're going to have different, I think 7 different measurements as well within 2 different places of extreme flatness, absence of curvature. Of course, if the Earth is a sphere radius 3959, it has to bend with an observed rate, 8 inches per mile squared. Laser tests falsify this observation in plenty. Here's a very well-known published document of all their data, the instruments they used, the results they got, the corrections they made, the variables that they controlled for, including refraction, temperature, atmospheric opacity. They did everything they possibly could. They had a custom built laser, this thing right here, they call it the salad, and then they built it to make these precise measurements. And over again on each 7th measurement, for all 7 measurements, continue to falsify the curvature rate. So this would be evidence to support the measurements of flatness as we move forward, right? All of these separate measurements have all the different calculations. They did the globe side, they accommodated for the spheroid model even. We went for the WGS84 corrections over here, and they corrected for humidity, temperature, literally every variable that you'd want to control. Here's all the instruments and technical data. I'll post both the link to this PDF and the video in the chat in a second. Here's the first measurement. Here's the second measurement. Every single time, absence of
Just to let you
curvature.
know,
So
we are at 12 minutes. If you guys would like a couple more minutes, that's okay. But that's 12 minutes, or I started it at the start of Alan's presentation, just so you know where
I
we're
could
at.
do like 30-second wrap up. I'm good.
Sure, you bet.
Cool. So the other side of this would be the measurements of curvature as in geodetic surveying, which has to have previous dimensions of the Earth known. You can refer to the American Arc of the Parallel, mctoon.net, at which you'll find copious amounts of corrections to longitude, latitude tables and adherence to the spherical graticule, right? Corrections to latitude, longitude, as we see here. Of course, if they don't have these spheroid measurements, don't fit the curvature of the arc, they'll swap out the spheroid model on the fly. That's the point of having multiple models. So that would mean that we failed to falsify the original hypothesis that, of course, Earth is planar with respect to the stars, because all measurements of curvature have to comport to the stars. So I'll end it there.
Thank you very much. And with that, what I'm going to do is stop your share. And then I want to let you know, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James Coons. We want to welcome you, no matter what walk of life you are from, flat, globe, you name it. We are glad that you are here. This is a fully neutral debate platform, hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. And last but not least, if you have not already, we would appreciate if you would share or follow, better yet, both, our Facebook for Modern Day Debate. Facebook sets up weekly goals for me. No joke. They do. They assign them to you. And right now we are 1 follower away on Facebook from meeting our weekly goal. So if you can give me a pity follow, I would be so grateful. I pinned the Modern Day Debate Facebook page at the top of the live chat. And with that, we're going to kick it over to our Globe friends who are here as well. Starting with, I hadn't asked you guys before, pardon, who would like to go first between the 2 of you, Mick Globeface and MC Toon?
If you like, and I'll mop it up.
I can go.
Perfect.
I'm going to share my screen.
Ready.
All right. You getting that?
Yes.
All right. Well, you may know, everybody, that I went to Antarctica in December, and that was quite a trip. Thank you to everybody that helped pay for it. So I'm going to also present some hypotheses. Now, this hypothesis and null hypothesis stuff is a rather rigid way. It's not necessary to do experiments. You can just simply falsify things, and it doesn't absolutely always require a null hypothesis. It doesn't necessarily follow that you can always even put together a null hypothesis. So anyway, we've got for experiment number 1 that we did there was whether or not the sun circles 24 hours a day. The globe predicts that it will, and flat Earth has true predictions. They weren't very consistent about that. Flat earthers generally said that the sun would set, but if you actually apply the geometry, that the sun would actually be due north at local solar noon, and then move sideways, and then at local solar midnight, it would also be due north. And so when so either of those two predictions we will be testing, we did test. And what did we see? Well, in fact, this is what we saw. We saw the sun do circles 24 hours a day. There is no prediction for flat Earth that we would see the sun due south. I'll pause it when it's due south. I gotta play it again. I'll show you it. Right there, play again. So right over there, that is due south. In fact, you can see on the bottom of the screen there, I've got some snow boulders that I put together. We used the globe model to predict the angle of the shadows and of the sundial, and the length of the sundial based on previously computed based on the radius of the globe and the position of the sun in relation to the globe, and they completely matched. It was absolutely another confirmation of the globe. But this is simply about whether or not the sun is seen due south, and this was seen due south. So if the Earth is a disk, as both Alan and Shane presented in their presentation, then the sun would have to be 180 degrees opposite, absolute opposite direction. The margin of error of this is all of it, all of the error. All right. So globe prediction confirmed and flat Earth prediction falsified. Experiment number 6, we saw star trails when we were there. So the flat Earth predicts something very specific, and the globe predicts something specific. The globe predicts that there will be a single center of rotation seen due south, and the flat Earth prediction is that there will be horizontally moving stars when you look due south. And this is the globe prediction, a 3-dimensional prediction of the globe here, in just some software showing what it's supposed to look like. And here is I have behind me, I have that dome here. So the dome model that both Shane and Alan presented. There it is. I put stars on it, and I used a black light. That's what the color is. And there you go. You can see these stars are moving horizontally. That's the flat Earth prediction. Horizontally moving stars when looking due south, especially from the south where we were in Punta Arenas. So there's our 2 predictions. What did we see? In fact, this was the video that I took. It's a series of stills that are stacked in the P1000. We saw the star trails going around a center of rotation clockwise in the sky. So it matches the globe prediction when we look south. This is a video that Will Duffy took. Again, there is stars moving around a center of rotation there that we see due south. All right. And so let's look at the declination for A Crux and Beta Hydri. They are there they are in the globe celestial sphere right there. Near the center there, the south celestial pole, and then we've got, here they are on flat Earth. We saw them both at the same time while looking due south. At the southern tip of South America, we looked south and saw them south, but yet they were opposite each other, nearly 180 degrees opposite each other, nowhere near south of Punta Arenas, yet we saw them both at the same time in the sky south of us. Amazing stuff. And there you go, 6 hours later, this is where they were. One of them was due south of us, the other one was due north, yet we saw both of them due south. There you go, globe prediction was confirmed, and once again, the flat Earth prediction was falsified. And what did we do? We applied trigonometry to figure that out. Amazing. Thank you for your affirmation, both of you, of Trigonometry doing the job. All right. That's my presentation. Over to you,
Thank you very
Globey.
much.
All
Ready
right.
for you, Nick Globe face.
Very good. All right. Let me see if I can just share this.
Excellent.
All right, you guys got that?
Yep.
Oh, I'm way far ahead. Hold on. Got a lot of stuff here. All right. So I'm glad Alan mentioned mutually exclusive evidence, because we're going to show some mutually exclusive evidence. But also we're going to show how predictions can be made. Okay. So the globe is symmetric. I think everyone agrees on that. Flat Earth is not symmetric. Okay. So we would expect on a globe things that happen in the northern hemisphere mirror those that happen in the southern hemisphere. This is just geometry. Okay. So you can see how the Tropic Capricorn is much longer here in the flat Earth than it is on the globe. Obviously, they predicted to be the same length, right? So how do we test something like this? Well, some simple observations that are mutually exclusive are direct flights. American Airlines 52 at 27 degrees north latitude matches that of Qantas 64 flight at 26 degrees south latitude. Almost the same exact latitudes. They both fly 7,000 miles about. They both fly the same speeds. They both fly there at about 11 and a half hours. So that alone is just a mutual exclusive thing for the globe. I mean, it's symmetric, right? This flight on flat Earth would look something crazy like this. Direct flight, right? Even if you fly straight across and don't fly around this arc, which you do according to the flight data, it doesn't make any sense. These are the same times and distances, right? But it makes perfect sense on the globe because the globe's symmetric, right? This is what we expect. Another example of the same thing. This is China Airlines 6, Qantas Flight 27, 34 degrees north and south latitude. Again, direct flights that completely disprove flat Earth. Both of these are about 11 and a half hours as well. About the same speed and distance as well. So again, that's what this would look like. It's nonsense. This is nonsense. That thing on the right's a cartoon, right? It doesn't exist. Direct flights prove that. Toon showed this a second ago, so I'll go past it pretty quick, but this is a mirror image of each other, right? North and south celestial poles. They mirror each other. They mirror each other because the globe's symmetric, okay? The bottom left is the prediction on a flat Earth, as Toon showed. Doesn't follow that prediction, right? Flat Earthers have to invoke magic light bending of 180 degrees and domes of vision that follow you around with personal suns that follow you around and personal stars. It's nonsense. You can put two phones on a ball and spin it and get the exact thing we're looking at here. Opposite rotations, right? Something so silly and simple to show the symmetry of the ball. I did this observation myself live on TikTok. This is the Southern Cross from Australia and from South Africa, right? At the same exact time. Okay. Both looking south-southwest on a compass. So much like Toon was showing, this is 90 degrees apart on flat Earth. But we were both seeing them looking south-southwest in reality at the same time. Why is that? Because everyone looking north, everyone looking south is looking in the same directions at the same time. It's symmetric. I just lost something. Oh, sorry, lost audio for a second. Symmetry, 15 hours of sunlight in Chile and 15 hours of sunlight at 40 degrees north, where that is, about New York, at the same time of year. Well, exact opposite times of year, right? So that's symmetry. How can there be 15 hours of light in the south and in the north at the exact 6 months apart? Doesn't make any sense on a flat Earth, right? And we got paths of the sun. I don't know how much I'm doing on time here. Any check?
You got 3 minutes left.
3 minutes. All right, I'll go fast. Path of the sun. If you're standing here looking west at the sunset, the sun is south of you or north of you. It doesn't matter. That sun is going this way around flat Earth. That's the prediction. Top right, that's the prediction. Yet what we see is it going to the left. It goes to the left because Earth's a globe. You're tilted a different direction in the southern hemisphere than the northern hemisphere. It's very simple. This is what we expect on a globe. Symmetry. Equator, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Okay? That can't happen on a flat Earth. And last but not least, coordinate systems, right? You mentioned coordinate systems. You have to transform them. Thank you, Alan, again. You have to transform coordinate systems to work on one model versus the other. We use a spherical coordinate system, right? So if you check this airport here, which I placed markers on, the length of that airport based on the markers, if you take those GPS locations and use the Haversine formula, which is the great circle distance over a sphere, you end up with 10,824 feet. That matches what the stated length of that runway is, right? And this is in the northern hemisphere. It's Chicago O'Hare. Now it's about 2 minutes, 2 minutes of separation, longitude lines. Okay. Same thing in Chile, in Punta Arenas in Chile. They're about the same length. This one's 9,000 feet, a little bit shorter. But if you place the GPS markers on them, you get the same distance, 9,182, 87 feet. Okay. This would never work on a flat Earth. As you know, lines of longitude spread out as it goes south, right? I have that here. They spread out as they go south. So if you're not applying the correct transform to this, you would never get the correct answer. You can't apply globe coordinate system to a flat Earth, right? So these coordinates would never line up on a flat Earth. So I'll end it there. And thank you.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening as well. Now, folks, we are very excited. What I'm going to do is pop us out of the screen share mode and other quick housekeeping things. First, folks, it's still linked there. If you'd like to give a pity follow to the Modern Day Debate Facebook page, it is appreciated. It's still pinned at the top of the chat and other housekeeping stuff. We are going to have a Q&A after this open dialogue section. So this open dialogue section right now, it's going to be about 50 or so minutes. Then we're going to go to the Q&A, and that goes for however long. We also want to let you know, you could submit a question either via Super Chat, or you can do it the standard way, which is tagging me in the chat with Modern Day Debate and asking your question. Super Chats are at the top of the list, though. We read through those first. With that, gentlemen, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'd like to draw particular attention to the fact that it was stated that falsification is sometimes not needed. Well, if you're saying something that can't be falsified, you're not saying anything scientific. And if you're trying to assert physics and cosmology and the shape of the Earth and geometry, then it needs to be a scientific assertion. Now, when you get into
who said that? Who said that falsification is not important?
You did at the beginning of your
Immediately.
presentation.
No hypothesis.
You opened up with it and said
No, I didn't say
specifically
that
that in some cases it's not even needed
specifically
or
didn't say that
required.
at all.
I don't remember hearing that.
Don't stick words in my mouth. That's
Moderator,
rude. You're starting out lying about me right
some
away.
water.
Wow, amazing.
moderator.
Falsification is critical. I specifically tested 2 different hypotheses. One was falsified. That's the point. The other was confirmed.
Did you hear his opening statement about falsification and how it's not important and sometimes blah blah blah?
I said the null hypothesis is not critical.
The whole if what you're saying can't be falsified, it's not scientific.
I didn't say it could. I didn't say it couldn't be falsified. I said the null hypothesis is not critical. You do not have to have a null hypothesis to do a falsification test.
Then whatever you're falsifying isn't scientifically relevant then. If you're trying to do something of noteworthiness, you need a null hypothesis. So if you're okay, well then good luck. How would you get your PhD then? You know that they do that through a null hypothesis, right?
Oh, James, do you have a PhD? Did you have to have a null hypothesis?
Instead of dragging me into the debate, I do want to just redirect us. So, gentlemen, are there any points from the openings that you would like to discuss that you've been burning, just with a burning desire deep in your loins, that have not been covered yet?
Yes.
Yeah, let's.
Go ahead, Shane. Go ahead.
Let's address the laser measurements from FE Core in 2018. The only way that that would be not mutually exclusive, right, is if you argue refraction at any distance. Now, that was a measurement over 7.5 miles, but there isn't an actual distance that you could tell me that where we can make an observation past that where you wouldn't claim refraction if it's made. So that also would be an unfalsifiable position, unless you can give me a distance at which we can make an observation in which you will discount refraction.
James, you mind if I share screen?
Ready for you.
All right. Here is from the FE Core document there. You see this is measurement number 5. They measured the temperature at water level and at 2 meters above the surface of the water. You can see here 11.4 degrees Celsius at water level and 13.3 degrees Celsius at 2 meters above the water level. That's almost 2 degrees Celsius difference. Now, this is called the lapse rate, is the amount of temperature change in a vertical linear distance. The refraction, when you have refraction like this, this causes refraction. When you have 1 degree Celsius per 10 meters, then that causes the arc of the curve of light to have a radius of about 6,370 kilometers.
The radius of Earth, oh man.
And this was an even steeper gradient, a significantly steeper gradient. So this is documentation showing that the radius of the arc of light is going to be significantly less than the radius of the surface of the Earth has been measured. So now when they did it, they didn't actually compute the effects of refraction correctly. They did it horizontally instead of vertically. I don't know why. It was pretty embarrassing for them. But anyway, this is right here confirmation of the globe right here, because this is showing how incredibly strong they needed the refraction to be in order to see it at that distance.
So when can refraction cannot account for curvature, right? So we're looking for falsifiability. At what distance would we make an observation that you wouldn't induce refraction?
Why
where
didn't they
refraction wouldn't
account
be
for
an option?
refraction? Why didn't they account for it properly?
Of course they did. You just argue that they don't because it's unfalsifiable. As
They didn't do it right.
We started, right?
They
So
should,
the
bring
point,
up where they did the refraction. Go ahead. Show us in the document.
the
I'd
point
love
of
to see
bringing
that.
up the laser
Well, let's see it.
measurements,
Let's-
right, is
let's
to say
see
that
where
it's
they did that.
unfalsifiable for you, right? Because
Please
no matter
show
what
us
it
where they
is,
included
it's
that
gonna
in their
be refracted.
observation.
Is
and
there a
how they
reason
accounted
why
for
you
it.
won't bring it up?
Which is why we bring it to the celestial theodolite, which is mutually
No,
exclusive,
you
right?
brought up FE core. You're running
Mutually
from the FE
exclusive.
core measurement now. Thank you very much for running from your own first law of Flerf confirmation.
No, showing you that the unfalsifiable position of refraction, and no matter what the distance, as
Right,
you
James,
keenly lead
I'll
into
share.
it,
James,
is going
I
to go
can
back
share.
into it, right? That's why the
I can
celestial
share what
theodolite as
he.
mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
Because
James,
when
I'll
it's
share. I'll
when
share
it's
what
only
he's
presented
not
in a dichotomy, as
wanting
we
to show.
reduced it to, then you can't eke out of it with these ridiculous refraction claims.
All right, James, do you see my share here?
Yes.
Okay, so here is the just a couple pages later. Here they are using this is their attempt to compute the amount of refraction. And what they did is they took the temperature at one side and they took the temperature at the other side. They did not take the vertical temperature gradient. And then they treated it as two distinct mediums, only two mediums instead of a continuous medium, which would be wrong even if you're going to do it horizontally, which is the wrong way. And then they just use the modified Edlin equation, the fine equation, but they applied it incorrectly. You need to do it vertically. They did it horizontally. Right here, this is embarrassing, horribly embarrassing, low quality understanding of what's going on and how to compute refraction. Go to Andrew Thomas Young's website at San Diego State University. He goes over all of the ways that you can do this. He has citations. He is the one that has citations of the 1 degree Celsius per 10 meters vertical lapse rate will give you a radius of the Earth, a radius of the arc matching the radius of the Earth. And again, when doing it correctly, you will find that that the lapse rate is significantly stronger than that, giving a radius of the arc of much shorter than the radius of the globe.
It almost looks like
Got it.
it almost looks like they assumed the Earth was flat when they did that calculation. Okay.
Everybody on the same page?
Yeah.
Why did it get so quiet?
Oh no, sorry, I was just waiting. Okay, so well, it's important to note, like even if the refraction had been done correctly, right? There's different types of refraction that could be applied, different coefficients. What Shane pointed out earlier in the arc of the parallel that gives agreement to the coordinate system is riddled with different refraction coefficients that are applied in different lateral refraction assumptions that are made. So when you get into,
let's see them.
I
I'd
don't
love to
want
see
to,
'em.
I don't interrupt,
Okay,
but this
okay,
is your
what-
test, right?
yeah, just 1 second.
Okay.
As I'm continuing, right, Shane will pull them up in the background saying, like, let's see them. They're there. He's got them. So I'm going to continue on now. But anyway, this is why it's important to have something that can differentiate between these measurements, right? Because you're asserting that there's a refraction that was erroneously calculated. We're asserting that the measurement was good, and that there could be. Let's give refraction the benefit of the doubt there. What can we do to satisfy the conditions of our null hypothesis that are independent of refraction? That's why we turn to the celestial theodolite when an object is actually blocked, because when you introduce evidence that isn't falsifiable, right? Which we talked about earlier, how there's not, if it's not falsifiable, if there's no limit that's too far before you can, on that equation for refraction, then there's no limit, right? So we can't falsify it in that way. So we're going to introduce, so that's why we introduced the celestial theodolite. So whenever you guys want to get to that.
But we're done with the lasers. Just want to be clear.
Sure. Sure. No, we could, yeah.
What
So
equipment was used for that observation?
for the observation of what? The celestial theodolite?
Yeah.
Ooh, I have to
Do we
look.
know? Do we know?
I'd have to look. Yeah, the specs are available. I don't know off the top of my head. It's a star. What do they call it? A star seeker or something like that.
No, that's
Look
a
at it.
telescope. What was the
It was
angle
a-
measuring device?
Yeah. Theodolite.
Oh, you're talking. Okay, you're not familiar with the celestial theodolite, real quick, because you're thinking like an actual instrument.
I asked you what equipment you used for your observation.
I got you.
Theodolite.
I got
David
you.
White 8300, I think.
No,
When
that's
you
for
use-
that's for the measurement with not doing the celestial theodolite.
Yes, it is.
No, that's a measurement with a
It's on you.
theodolite.
It's on your own video. From
It's it, buddy.
Yes.
Buddy. The measurement is done for comparison, right? Listen.
I mean, you don't have to call me buddy. I mean,
sorry. You're right.
This is your video right here, right, Shane?
Yes.
Okay.
Listen.
And this is the David White 8300 that
That
they
is
used
the-
to take the measurement over the mountain.
Can you stop interrupting, please? That is a David White 8300. That is not the celestial theodolite that we're talking about.
It's conceptual, right? So
This is but he talks about using that and how to measure on the veneer
This-
scale
thi-
on the
this-
theodolite.
This isn't used for the celestial theodolite, though. Do you understand that? Can we
Go
can,
and then explain it. Go ahead.
Okay,
How
great.
did he get the elevation of the mountain?
How did he get the elevation of the angle? Trigonometry. So he took the difference in elevation between him and the mountain peak and the elevation of the mountain peak. And then you can do trig to get the elevation for that. The tangent of that is the
I'm
angle.
very confused because this whole article, this whole video, and all your videos since then talk about measuring the angle to the mountain peak using the theodolite, and
No,
then measuring the
that's-
star
that's-
angle.
no,
with the
they don't.
theodolite.
That's ridiculous.
One second. No, that is explicitly not what they say at all. That is a complete straw man of all those videos. That is not what they're about. They're about using a mountain peak and star occlusion timings to tell the difference on the relative angle. The beginning measurement showing that David White 8300 is for a comparison for optical measurements, because the premise, right, the optical field and the spatial field are different. So we bought an old device, took a measurement optically, right, for the comparison, just the raw measurement to see what it would be, and then he used the celestial theodolite for the comparison. So what you're asserting is not relevant to anything. Now, I'll tell you this though, I'm not hiding from this. This is the
It's
point.
relevant.
This, you know what? It is relevant because this is the exact point of it. Because when you point that device to that mountain, guess what angle it measures?
I
Guess. Go ahead.
I don't know. 2 degrees, 31 minutes.
About 2 degrees and
3 minutes.
So that one in particular measured the right angle, but then he got a better device. He got a Sokia something or whatever, measured 2 degrees and 19 arc minutes, right? Which corresponds to the globe prediction. Very cool, right?
Sure.
But our premise, remember, is that there is optical compression. We don't know if the Earth is curved or if this is an optical effect, right? So what we do with the celestial theodolite, now that we have our theodolite measurement for comparison, we've done our optical on the ground with the theodolite, we've got what the globe predicts, right? Now we calculate what the relative angle would be to that mountain with plane trigonometry, and we get the actual raw angle, and we go to Stellarium. Can I screen share real quick so I could show this the diagram? Oh, he's AFK. What the
Yes, you
ruck?
can.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Share. 1 second. It'll be nice to have the diagram for you guys. Okay. All right. So once we have our relative angle, the calculated angle, right? Differing from
It's
the
not showing yet.
Oh,
It says
oh.
Alan has started screen sharing. Double click to enter full screen mode.
Seen that before.
It says on my end that I am properly
Sometimes
screen sharing.
if you just stop and restart the share, it might help.
I just stopped it. Let's give it a second shot, Alan.
Okay, 1 second. Let me back. Where's my Zoom? Did I get disconnected?
Let's see. Now not even the black page is showing. When it says I think
1 second, boys. Having some technical difficulties here.
Spherical coordinates.
All right, sorry about that.
All right, my
Having
bad,
some
There's a
okay,
technical
we're
big
ready for you to
difference.
show. Go ahead. We're ready for your sweet screen share.
Awesome.
James, you can drag now in Zoom to rearrange the panes if you need to.
That's been like that for like 10 years, Melvin.
Oh, I'm so far behind. James is ahead of me
Boomer.
on this.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All
Ready.
right, so once we have our calculated angle relative to our distance, right? We
Calculated
can go.
how? I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. I need to understand what you're doing.
Got you. So we have our observer here on the ground, right? We have our distance away from a mountain, right? And we could reference, let's see, what I reference is this website right here. I'll give it to you.
Is that a flat Earth distance or is that a?
No, it's
Haversine
using
distance?
your boy Haversine. It's Haversigned out.
So you're using Havers. Okay, go ahead.
The Haversine is a trigonometric
kind of
is a spherical trigonometric function used
Kind of a
for
first law thing here. Okay.
Okay, please don't interrupt. But the Haversine, right, is a spherical trigonometric function that's used on a graticule, which is a spherical coordinate system to compute distances between latitude or longitudes. So it's fine, dude. That's part. And it's hold on 1 second. And it's also using units of measurement that are derived from the coordinate system. So of course it comports and works accordingly. Now the purpose of this is to test independently the geometry of the ground and the sky using both of them together instead of just using empirical observation, because the graticule, I don't know if you know this, but was derived from astrogeodetic surveying, which means that they took single zenith measurement observations of stars, and when they didn't get the angle that they thought was going to be where it would line up with their telescope, then they just asserted that the difference was due to Earth curvature. So that observation can't tell you alone the shape of the Earth. So was there something you wanted to add on or ask a question about?
I have a question. So you have there the angle there over at the vantage point of 2 degrees is at 31 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you have the angle at the top of the peak there as 2 degrees and 31 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now,
Determined by
but
the
they're
equation.
50 some kilometers away. So where did the numbers come from for those 2 minutes, 31, 2 degrees, 31
Exactly.
minutes?
Exactly. So,
From the theodolite
no,
that he told me he didn't use before.
the theodolite doesn't give an angle of 231. It gives an angle of 219. If you actually watch the presentation,
Okay.
as you
But where
asserted,
did-
hold on one second.
Where did the
If you hold on
231
one
come from?
second, I'm in the middle of telling you. If you actually watch the presentation as you asserted, Globey, you would
I
know that the measurement comported with the globe, right? With what the globe predicts at 219. This calculation comes from taking the distance, right, and the relative elevation between the mountain and the observer. There's a whole spreadsheet we can show to calculate that. Right?
Well, the words off your
doing that-
presentation say that means the elevation of the visitor center should be 2 degrees and 31 feet above my level if the Earth is flat. Right? Is that what you're talking about?
First of all, that was Mike Heffron's PDF that he wrote.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? And
Mhm.
it should be.
Okay.
Right? We're talking about this part of the measurements now. Right? Whatever you're talking about, just focus on this because this is super important here. Right? So for the measurement for Pikes Peak, where they say, where we have this 31 arc minutes, right? This comes from the distance, right? Which comes from the trigonometric functions from your boy, the Haversine, right? Which comes from the graticule, which gives us the units of measurement to even do this with, right? Now, that gives us an angle though, regardless. So we have this angle now. So now that we have our angle, do you agree that we can use trigonometry that we can get the tangent of this by knowing the elevation angle or by knowing the elevation difference and the distance? If we have those, we can get an angle, right? Any disagreements with Pythagoras?
No, I'm still curious. I'm still curious on I need some clarification. At the vantage point 2, you have also 2 degrees 31 minutes. Where did that number come from?
Yes. So what that number comes from is the intersection timing of when the observer on the ground no longer sees that star. In order for those two times to match up, then this geometric relationship alpha has to equal alpha, which isn't on this slide. There's their thetas, but the relationship here has to be the same here. Otherwise, the star would occlude at a different time.
But you are indexing against level at vantage point 2 and not vantage point 1. So it will be on the globe, it'll be a different value.
No, we're specifically referencing if there's curvature between the distance between this mountain and this observer. Because if there is curvature, then this mountain peak will be physically lower than the raw calculated 231 angle. Because if you subtract 8 inches per mile squared, you get 214 for what the globe predicts. So 214 corresponds to a different time at when this star would disappear. So you see how this doesn't have the same geometric relationship here with respect to the locations there. That's if the Earth were a globe, this is what would happen. So because this doesn't happen and these line up, that's why I asked at the beginning if alpha equals alpha, then the Earth measures flat with respect to the stars.
Yeah. So did somebody go to vantage point 2 and measure the angle to the star?
Oh, somebody going to the vantage point and measuring the star.
On the other slide.
No, yeah, I'll show you. Yeah, doing that isn't necessary because all we need to know is if the star is at this angle in time at this location, right, which is what is predicted, right, and this is what is referenced, and if it's not visible anymore at that time, then the only way that could happen is if there's a geometric obstruction that's at that elevation to cause that blockage. So the relevance in if you were to be on this mountain peak, we don't predict that you would see the star where it is. We only care about where the star isn't, and to do that, you use that by using the relative angle calculation here and the timing difference, because we never told Stellarium where we were. This is the beauty of the measurement, because if when you plug everything in, it'll make two different predictions to try and correct for where it should be. But the timing difference here shows that the geometry is actually planar.
So, but so you said, I just want to be clear, you said that the observed angle matched the globe prediction from the vantage point 1.
Yes, optically it does. And that's part of our prediction too, because like I said, optical curvature isn't Euclidean, right? The spatial, the visual field is non-Euclidean.
The mutually exclusive part is the
But-
occlusion timing. That's why it's reduced to a binary, and it's been confirmed 39 different times of
Okay.
7 different peaks, right?
Okay, so you're using Euclidean geometry in this then.
Using planar geometry using plane trig to calculate the
And,
spatial
and Euclidean, Euclidean
the-
geometry, but
yes,
then you're talking
yes.
that it's non-Euclidean somehow.
The spatial field, right, is different from the visual field. The spatial field is where an object exists in three-dimensional reality. So if you were to plane trig out the relative angle difference here, that would be like a saying, okay, this is where this mountain peak physically exists in reality. To do the globe calculation for where it physically exists, because, relative to where you're at, the ground is tilting away tilting away from you. So this mountain peak is going to be slightly lower in the horizon. So you subtract what the 8 inches per mile squared difference would be from this, and it subtracts 200 meters from this, which corresponds to a different time, because we know how fast the sky moves at 15 degrees per hour, which corresponds to 15 arc minutes, which corresponds to 4 actual real minutes, and then you have arc minutes, which corresponds to 15 seconds, and then we have 15 arc seconds, which corresponds to 1 real second, right? And then we have distances that are derivable from this relationship as well. We're 69 miles per degree, 1.15 miles per arc minute, and 101 feet per arc second. So the 200 feet difference predicts a actual different time where the star isn't visible. And we not only referenced just that one mountain peak, because like that could be an anomaly, right? That could be some crazy, thing or whatever, right? There could just be some magic thing. But now we're also referencing different distances here. So we have different angles that correspond to different elevations because they're different distances, right? We're doing trig functions, so we're getting different angles here, and we're looking for stars that correspond to those same angles. And all of these timings here, right? See how it says here, flat difference here. This is the altitude that is predicted by the official. Like if you go to Wikipedia and look up Pikes Peak, for example,
The altitude, what's the units there?
Meters.
Oh, the altitude of the mountain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So then you'll see here this column, the flat delta out. This is the difference that's measured plus or minus with respect to the timing. Because if you actually do this trigonometric function right here, which is the altitude is equal to the observer altitude plus the distance to the peak times the tangent of the elevation angle that it was occluded at, you can reverse engineer what the actual elevation would have to be. So this is what this column represents here. And we see here that the elevation is slightly higher than what the globe is predicting. 1 second.
44.9. What are the units there?
Meters.
Oh, that's the difference of the peak.
Yeah. So the globe says it's this high, but it's measuring physically slightly higher based on the timing, the occlusion timing. And this is what the globe predicts based off of 8 inches per mile squared subtracted from the 50 kilometers here and that distance difference. So what we're looking at here is a globe difference that's missing, that should be present here, of 249 meters, and that's never observed. So like, in other words, if this star got occluded at a different time, it would mean that the angle that it corresponds to would be this relationship here. It would give mutual exclusive proof of the globe.
Why are you adding the observer height to that calculation?
The observer height. I'm subtracting the observer altitude from the mountain altitude,
On the
or the elevations. What's that? Which one? 1 second.
where they just were
This one?
with the yeah. Why are you adding the altitude of the observer in there?
Oh, that one. Okay, so this is how you do the trigonometric function to get what this true elevation would be with respect to the distance and the time that it got occluded. So does that make sense?
That's the flat Earth triangle you're solving there.
That's just a triangle. A triangle can't be flat Earth or anything. That's just a triangle.
but the tangent of that angle there would be the elevation over the distance, right?
Yeah, that's what the spreadsheet.
Why is the
had.
altitude of the observer that seems erroneous? Why is that included in there?
What? The altitude of the observer relative
It would be the
to
tangent of that angle,
sea level.
right? Is the elevation, which is the altitude of the peak, which we're trying to figure out, divided by the distance to the peak, which is what you're solving. And then you're trying to solve for the altitude of the peak, right?
Yeah. Well, 1 second. This function here doesn't belong to this necessarily. This 231 calculation. This corresponds to how you would calculate. Yeah, this
But that's not
corresponds
how
to
you
how
calculate. Okay, so can you
Hold on a
solve for that
second.
right triangle right there, right?
you say it's
That's what
not
you're
how
doing?
you calculate it, yet we
It's
have
not.
a spreadsheet of it.
Doesn't mean your spreadsheet's right, right?
I mean, it gives
What's the
it-
tangent of? Oh, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but what's the tangent of the tangent of that angle would be what?
tangent of the angle would be 231.
Right?
For
Times that, and that would equal what to solve for that triangle, right? The tangent of that would be the opposite side, right? Which is the
SOHCAHTOA?
altitude. SOHCAHTOA, which would be the opposite side, which would be the altitude of the peak.
Listen, are you trying to assert that this is wrong? Because the
It
trigonometric
looks wrong to me. I'm trying to understand
Well-
how you solve for the altitude of the peak by adding in the altitude of the observer there.
altitude of the peak is subtracted from the altitude of the observer.
Well, it's right there. Altitude of the observer plus the distance to the peak.
This is for
Times-
this is for the function to calculate what the elevation is with respect to the angle.
Alan, the tangent of that angle, which is the right side of that equation. I'm pointing at my screen like somebody can see me.
I see it.
Would equal the altitude of the peak divided by the distance to the peak. That's the equation. There's no altitude of the observer in there.
It says altitude of observer.
It says it. I know it says it, but I'm trying to, the trigonometry of that calculation would be the tangent of that angle equals the altitude of the peak divided by the distance to the peak. That's how you solve that triangle. Then you multiply both sides by the distance to the peak to get your height of that mountain.
Well, that's fantastic because what it
I'm
ends
just
up
asking
okay,
why he
well,
added that in there.
well, listen, the trigonometric function works because it gives the accurate comparison, right? Because that's what the globe differential is taken from. Nobody's disputing the trigonometric function there. A lot of people have analyzed it. I don't know.
I don't think anybody has.
No, it's correct.
I don't
How
know
is
what
that
your
correct?
I don't know what your specific contention is, but it's pretty simple. You have the angle and you have the distance. So you're just solving for the opposite. So it's literally the same thing. So when you're saying like you disagree, he did it wrong. Well, it gives the exact amount. Like it's not wrong. So do you have a different point of
You're
contention?
calculating
Because here's
you're
what changed.
calculating that. You're calculating
what's
that
the-
in the spreadsheet, and all those. So if those numbers are wrong, then your whole thing is wrong, right?
It's not wrong. Though.
But luckily they're not wrong. And here's the thing: you're taking it to the wrong location. You need a different timing. You don't need a different elevation calculation change. You need a timing change. That is the big thing that's in dispute here. Getting lost in the trigonometric functions of the spreadsheet.
Getting
is
lost
something
in the math you're using to disprove the globe. You should get lost in that.
You're misunderstanding a variable. It's the tangent of the altitude over the distance. You're just misunderstanding what the altitude is in that additive equation, right? That's what.
Well, you explain it to me then. I don't understand it.
It's
so I'm
fine. We
asking
just
for it.
did. The tangent, right?
No, you did not.
How we get 231 degrees is the simple formula, right? It's tangent of the altitude over the distance. That's it.
Tangent of the angle is the altitude over the distance.
Arctan, dude, it's so ridiculous.
Yes, I agree. So then when you multiply both sides by the distance to solve for the altitude, you just add in the altitude of the observer into the equation for no reason?
No, the altitude of the observer is taken into account, right? So in this formula, it's 2,226 meters, right? And 50,700 meters for 50.7 kilometers. If you click right in that the elevation angle,
all right, let's just.
where it says
I don't
2.4 degrees,
understand.
you can see the formula that we apply.
You said yourself, it's the tangent is the opposite, the height over the distance.
So we're doing arctan.
So that's the tangent of the height over the distance. That's three variables. That's three inputs. Suddenly you have four. Altitude of the observer is a fourth input.
Where does the right-hand triangle
I'm trying
terminate?
to figure out where that fourth input
Where does
comes
the
from.
right-hand angle terminate?
At the observer.
There we go. So add the observer height to get the ground because we're adding ground elevation to the peak. Moving on.
So if he's at 30,000 feet, you would just measure the angle differently. Wow. Okay.
Very small difference. I agree.
Yeah, it's close. I'm sure it's close enough.
All right. So The
I
table
have a-
below calculates the
another-
altitude of the peak
another
using
question.
altitude is equal to the altitude of the observer plus the altitude of the peak times the tangent of the true elevation angle of the occluded star for each occluded star. This version adds the occlusion to the thing. Now he added this, right, because the angles, right, if you just go by the angles, it can be a little ambiguous. This trigonometric function that is backwards deriving what the actual true elevation is after using the occlusion timing, which we're, by the way, we're using the true I forgot one of the key aspects of this argument. Sorry, McToon, I'll let you speak for a second. This is very important here. The positions of the stars that are being referenced here is the position with refraction turned off. So this defaults to the nautical almanac, like the true position, the so-called true position of where it would be, even though we never see the true, only the physical, or I mean, we only see the apparent. We never see that. No, well, that's what we're referencing here. We're referencing the raw so-called true position of where they say that is, and we're raw calculating what the elevation angle of this is based off of our distance and the elevation of the mountain peak to us to get our angle at. So that's super important to this geometric argument, because when the true position and this true position of this mountain line up, suddenly this star becomes not visible for this person at a specific time. Now, that is what is the primary argument here. And we have this spreadsheet. So you're saying that this is wrong, but it just so happens to equal up to what the globe predicts, and then plus or minus the flat Earth measurement and the globe differential. Like come on, dog.
I'm just asking where it came from. That you added that in there, right?
Do you guys have an occlusion timing that would prove the globe in any measurement ever done? Do you think you could find one error in the 39 measurements that prove flat on our side, or what?
Yeah, I want to get some clarification here, because this seems like an awful lot of things to go through for something that I think might be a little unclear. This is a method, an attempt at a method to measure the angular elevation of mountain peaks. Is that correct?
The physical elevation, the difference in the physical elevation with respect to the visual elevation, right? Because there's two separate assertions here. Like we see things differently.
Where did the
than where they physically are.
Where did you get the physical elevation measurements from?
The physical elevation measurements come from when the star is occluded. That confirms the plane trigonometric functions that are done, and then that's it. That it is done through the timing interval.
But where did you get the elevation of the mountains from?
The elevation of the mountain is done from Wikipedia. That's what's in contention here. We're showing.
Okay,
Yeah,
so hold on. Where did Wikipedia get the elevations of the mountains?
Google Earth, probably.
Google Earth, probably using the radius of a ball, et cetera, et cetera.
The graticule.
Right. This is what is in contention. This is why this is so important, because everything that's been asserted about where the physical elevation of this mountain peak is, if what you're saying, if the line of logic you're trying to draw me down to make it seem like everything is backwards on the globe here and on the up and up, I assure you it's not. This is for the specific way to tell the difference in whether or not what you're saying is correct and if what I'm saying is correct.
Okay, so I'm just still trying to get some clarification. This is a method to attempt to measure the elevation angles to mountains. Is that correct?
No.
No? What is attempted to being measured here?
It's a conceptual method to use occlusion timings to perform a mutually exclusive mathematical prediction. That's what it is.
Is there an elevation measured in that process?
Yeah, it's calculated. It's not measured, but go ahead.
Well, all measurements other than the very most basic ones include computation.
No, I agree. I think you and Shane may have been having a little impasse there, but you're not wrong. So it's to show the if that elevation is true or not.
Okay, so you're using the celestial theodolite, you're saying, to measure the elevation angle to these mountains
via timing interval.
Okay, now so there are multiple centuries of tried and true methods to measure elevations of distant objects. Right. Why not use some of those instead of trying to invent a new way that has never been done before? Nobody has ever tested before. Nobody's ever confirmed that it's a good way to do it. Well, why not use the tried and true methods?
That's a fantastic question because the tried and true methods are one, what's in contention right here. Remember, the spatial and the visual field difference is what's in contention. You guys assert that the difference is due to Earth curvature. We assert that it's due to optical. So taking the using optical measurements in that regard would tell us nothing new, right? We're not introducing or manipulating any independent variables or doing anything, right? Like we don't have anything falsifiable. So if we're not putting forward anything scientific, then what are we doing? So the purpose of this is to mix the geometry of the ground and the geometry of the sky in a way where we can tell the difference. Because if this peak was a lower elevation, like I said, I'd be here arguing against flat earthers. And I'd be zipping them up too.
All right. We've been on your presentation for a while.
Yeah.
I have a
something
I've put together
thank you for
this
indulging.
particular topic.
Go ahead.
When you're ready, I'll share, James.
Ready.
Alan is still sharing though.
Oh, I'm not sure.
So the same button that you use to start sharing is where you'll click to stop sharing, but I'll do it on my side. There we go.
Yeah, do it on yours because it disappears for me for some reason.
All right. Here is some of the numbers that I got from the presentation from Dr. Heffron. He was 51 51 miles from Pikes Peak. There's his latitude longitude from the presentation. He talked about 2 degrees 3 minutes. Your presentation talked about 2 degrees 31 minutes of elevation.
Yeah, can I give a quick correction? There was a mathematical error that was corrected for the globe Earth prediction on that. So it does come out to be whatever it is that the globe predicts -2 for the terrestrial refraction or whatever. So that refraction that has been corrected.
Okay, so somewhere between 2 degrees 3 minutes and 2 degrees 31 minutes. Is that fair? Is the elevation of Pikes Peak from his house, right? Okay. Sure. Now I've measured myself, Polaris, to be 5,000 kilometers in elevation, presuming flat Earth. I'm at 45 degrees north latitude. Polaris is approximately 45 degrees elevation, plus or minus half a degree from 45 degrees, and I am 5,000 kilometers from the North Pole. So that simple triangle gives us a 45-45-90 triangle, meaning that Polaris is 5,000 kilometers in elevation above flat Earth, if we're presuming flat Earth. So I don't know what you say the elevation is for the star, the first one he was talking about there, 39 Aquarii. But it must be somewhere in the vicinity. Maybe you can correct me if it's not 5,000, maybe it's less. Don't know. But we can start with that and do some corrections from there if you need. The 2 degree 3 minute value, all of the things that I've computed here will be larger if it's a larger value. If it's 2 degrees 31 minutes instead, then the number I have in these next slides will be larger, not smaller. So it will increase the amount of the numbers that we see here. So I solved the triangle there for how far it is away. Let me see here if I got the right thing. So all right, here is I'll just show you the bearing here from his house there to Pikes Peak. You see that we've got due west. The bearing is 250 degrees because it's 20 degrees south of due west. I took this in Google Maps. I put where he said he was. I took Pikes Peak. I used Photoshop to measure the angle. That's where I got the 20 degrees from. So, and I put that on the map that you guys used earlier. Right there, we've got due west from his location. We've got 20 degrees south of due west from that location. Now we'll go back to this slide here. So I used the 2 degrees 5 or 2 degrees 3 minutes, which is 2.05 degrees. Again, that number will be higher, which means that the value will be larger. But that triangle there, the distance across the surface of flat Earth, that's B, and that triangle on the bottom right, So the observer there is alpha over on the far right side. We've got the distance B to the star, because that the elevation A, I put in 5,000 kilometers. You see that? 5,000 kilometers, an elevation angle of 2.05 degrees, right? So what do we get? Well, there's flat Earth, but from from the center to the perimeter of flat Earth is 20,000 kilometers. We need how much? 139. Let's call it 140,000 kilometers. Well, that's not quite there. Let's be generous and say that it's 20,000 kilometers from Colorado there to the edge of the disk, right? We're nowhere near. We need 140,000. This is to scale how far away 39 Aquarii needs to be to scale in order for it to be at 2 degrees angular elevation. But the problem is, of course, there is an actual GP on the surface of the Earth at around 14 degrees south latitude, which is significantly inside Antarctica. So way, way, way off. The value here is so massively off. The scale, the number of zeros in the difference between where flat Earth requires it to be and where it actually is in reality is an absolute multiple orders of magnitude difference. So there you go. I don't know how you're going to explain that one there, but 7 times farther away than the distance to Antarctica. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Folks, we do have, I'm going to quick jump in with a quick housekeeping announcement, a couple of things. We do have the Q&A coming up in just a bit. And folks, if you did not know, if you've been living in a cave on Mars with your fingers in your ears and you didn't know, Modern Day Debate is currently doing a fundraiser for new lenses for our in-person events. This GoFundMe is linked in the live chat right now. We appreciate your support. And if you're like, hey, I want to ask a really long question for, a Q&A, but, I don't really want to do super chat because, with super chat, you have to put in like $5 just to get like 100 characters. In other words, like to ask a long question, you have to pay more money. But if you put a donation of any amount in the GoFundMe linked at the top of the chat, let me know and we will read your question no matter how long it is. Even if it's a story about how attractive you find MC Toon, we'll read it no matter how long it is. So with that, gentlemen, we'll let you resume, but folks will have the Q&A in just a bit.
Well, that was a nice episode of Euclidean misappropriation, I think, right? Assuming infinite vision and Euclidean triangles exceeding into forever. That's the same principle of how they get, parallax angles with a triangle that closes at 0.00001 or whatever. So I don't think that that's a proper distance. I think you were drawing distances also wrong, right? Based on stellar observations and misappropriation of Euclidean perspective, I would say the proper way is to use the graticule, right? As we started with
Could you just point out the correct way to determine the what I did? Just walk us through the right way to do it. So we know in reality that at that moment that 39 Aquarii is at 14 degrees south latitude. So how is the correct way to do the geometry?
Well, you can use Haversine, right? You can get your input points as points with long lat, because the coordinate system with which it's defined is going to measure the distance. Same with the nautical mile, if you want to use that. And then that's how you would determine the distance on the graticule. And then you splay it out on your flat and graticule projection that you are also misusing.
Okay, but don't do it without a projection. Do it in a non-projected coordinate system.
I mean, how would you measure distances like that across vast without using the ground when it's mostly water? Well,
just go ahead. Go ahead.
So we would
show how to do it, Shane.
To the stars.
Show how to do it. Run us through the geometry for seeing an angle to a star of slightly more than 2 degrees in Colorado when it is over 14 degrees south latitude. Show us that geometry. The correct way.
Don't start with a globe.
Yeah, just use
You
flat
don't
Earth.
assume
You
you
don't
can
get to
see
use
forever?
Haversine. You can't use Haversine. I'm not
Well,
talking
we
about
can.
seeing forever. I'm talking about
Okay.
you can definitely see that star. And so you're saying that there's a different way to do the geometry, that I did it wrong. Please show the right way to do the geometry. Get out your paper. Get out your map. The
Well-
non-projected map. Don't use a projection. Don't say graticule. Use a 1 to n scale map of what you think the Earth is and show the correct geometry for that.
What I'm saying is you portrayed the calculation incorrectly on that flattened out graticule.
Excellent. Show the
keep
right way to
saying
do
it.
it.
Yeah,
Show
keep
the
saying
right
it.
way. Go show the right way. All you got to do.
What's the correct way?
Chop, chop. Show
Well,
the
I
right
didn't
way.
disagree with the method, as I said, with using Haversine, right? With the longitude and latitude is the graticule. You guys can't separate the graticule, longitude, lat from the Earth, right? You think those synonymous. They're not. They're different. They're different
Yeah.
things, right?
So-
They're
so-
very
no,
different.
but
So
here's
you
the thing.
can't find
Here's what we can
differences
do.
on the
Shane,
graticule with long
here's
lat
what.
and then
Stop saying.
disassociate.
Shane, we can use a non-projected coordinate system, and we can use a non-projected algorithm, Haversine, and get the actual position. That uses the globe. And so you're saying that's not correct. You say it's not a globe. So use the non-projected. This is what you present as the non-projected Earth. So show how to do that on the non-projected Earth. And you can't use Haversine because that's a spherical coordinate system, right? The non-projected spherical coordinate system that we use, not projected. And you need to show the correct way to do it using not the globe geometry.
Yeah. So it is the coordinate system of long lat. It's not the globe. You said it's the globe. No, you're measuring it in the coordinate system. You're using long lat. Haversine take inputs of latitude and longitude as starting and endpoints. It's distance
And linear distance.
and its result is comporting with the system with which it's defined in. That's
And
the
a
whole
linear
point.
distance.
So when you say it's
Shane,
the globe, that's incorrect. It's the
it
coordinate
includes a
system.
linear
Show
distance.
me
What's
that
the
it's the
linear
globe.
distance? Shane, what's the linear distance that's used in the Haversine formula?
Show me that it's the globe being used. And
Shane,
not
what's the
spherical
linear
coordinate system?
What
of
is
long
the
lat,
linear
right?
distance used in the Haversine formula,
If
Shane?
my position is that it's the coordinate system and your position is that it's the Earth, show me that it's the Earth and not the coordinate system, right?
Shane, why are you avoiding the answer?
Because you're
What
just
is
gonna
the-
keep chanting this, right?
what
The coordinate
is-
system is the argument.
Until
If it's a
you
spherical
man up,
coordinate system-
until you look down in your panties there and find the balls to answer the question. What is the linear distance used in the Haversine formula as an input?
What do you mean?
There is a linear distance that's input into the Haversine formula. What is it?
For which calculation? You mean just in general, the parameter? You want me to define the term with which describes the linear portion?
There are 3 inputs to the Haversine: latitude, longitude, and a linear number. What's that linear number?
I don't know.
You don't know. You're going to tell me about Haversine formula and you
Yeah.
don't know that third number?
Oh, so you think that changes the output and changes my position? That
I
it's
think it
used
shows
based on
that you-
hemispherical position.
it
and
shows
the
that-
coordinate system of long lat.
Yeah, it
which you
shows that
cannot
you don't
differentiate
know what
from
you're
the
talking
Earth
about.
That you think you're trying to argue for?
It shows you don't know what you're talking about. It shows you don't know what the Haversine formula is for. It shows that you don't understand the concept.
Of course I do.
Okay,
Of course I
what
do.
is the linear number that is put into the Haversine formula? Go Google it. Ask Grok, ask ChatGPT, whatever you need. Go ahead.
Where's the linear term you want me to define?
This is an interesting I think he was asking what term you wanted to define.
There is a linear number that you put
God.
into the Haversine formula in order to compute distances across the surface of the Earth.
So the
What is that
argument
linear number?
for
What's
using
that?
the Haversine is that it's tied to the coordinate system, which is my position.
And
right? The coordinate
and
system.
one other number. What is
Your
that other
position
number?
is that it's tied to the Earth.
What is that other number?
Show in
Shane,
any which way.
What is
how
the
it's
other
tied
number, Shane?
Guys,
to the
Is there a
Earth.
reason why
What do
you
think?
won't just
Yes.
say what
Do you
that
think
number
it would be
is?
tied to the Earth in any way you can prove?
I think
or is there
Alan might
no
know.
way to substantiate
Can you
how
help
it's
him
tied
out?
to the Earth?
Can you
and
tag
not
in?
to the coordinates?
Guys,
Alan, tag in, Alan.
1 second. But before I do, this was your conclusion was our premise. The 3959 that's asserted in that is also derived from elevation angles from Polaris. There's nothing mutually exclusive of that. This is why the celestial theodolite tells us the difference here. You're using a trigonometric function.
Shame St. Plagiaire. The radius of the globe is the other number that's necessary in the Haversine formula.
Yeah, do you know why?
Shame! Oh my goodness, how embarrassing for you.
This is where they claim the radius of the dome is the same as the radius of Earth.
Do you know why?
They claim that.
That's the first law of Flirt, guys.
Tune, do you know why it's that?
Yes, I do, because it's a spherical trigonometric function. It requires the radius of the sphere.
Using a coordinate system derived from elevation angles from Polaris. The equivalence
it's derived from all sorts of things. You can figure out the radius of the Earth through many different things.
I'm trying to speak, and he's having a seizure.
Let's go with it. Alan will give you how about 60 seconds? You want 120 seconds?
60 should be enough. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So again, your conclusion was our premise, right? We're trying to test for mutual exclusivity, not calculations using the coordinate system and then asserting the correct interpretation of the coordinate system, right? That same linear value would be used either way on the coordinate system, because our assertion is that the coordinate system is a merger of two hemispheres derived at independent times with respect to a specific time of year, which is the vernal equinox. That's what the latitude and longitude system wholly represents. What you're asserting with the linear distance, do you think someone went to the center of the Earth to measure it? No, they calculated it.
No, there's other ways to do that.
It wasn't a question. It was rhetorical. It's calculated from elevation angles to Polaris, which gives the same thing. So what you're asserting isn't mutually exclusive. Use of the Haversine is not mutually exclusive. Timing differentials with respect to star occlusions is mutually exclusive. That tells us the correct nature and geometry of the realm. Otherwise, the calculations, that the same ones that you're relying on to give accurate distances, wouldn't give the accurate elevation that corresponds to the time that corresponds to when the star was actually occluded at the relevant distance to the observer. So this whole getting excited and wetting the bed was for naught.
No,
your conclusion was my premise.
That's the whole point.
I simply, in the beginning of this, brought up a lot of mutually exclusive things. Okay, we could gladly go over any of those and explain how. I know you want to immerse yourself in the world.
Name one. Let's go. Name one.
The flights, simply the flights.
Okay, it's a spherical.
Would you like me to bring them up?
Okay, the
graticule coordinate system.
I got you.
They fly the same amount of time, the same distance.
What you're showing, right? How it looks different. That's because you're looking at a projection. It's the same distance. It's the same coordinate system. To say one is not the other is you're basically saying that the globe doesn't exist.
Then show me how that works.
It's using the same lat-long system.
Show me how that works on a flat Earth then.
The distance will be determined by how long the line looks, or is the distance determined by the distance between longitude lines?
It's the distance the plane flew.
Which is the distance that corresponds between longitude lines, right?
But this is what you claim. This is your claim.
Yes.
You say the Earth is this.
No.
The distances don't match.
No.
The lines of longitude spread out as it goes south, right?
Specific.
This is the map you guys keep using.
On a projected coordinate system, yes. This is what we're saying.
We're not talking about a projected coordinate system. We're talking about the actual.
As you're holding a projected coordinate system, that is.
But you say this is the actual surface of the Earth.
Really quick, just to be sure.
I don't say that is the surface of the Earth. I say specifically that is a snapshot of the sky that corresponds to positions of the stars.
That's not the Earth. That's not the sky, though. That's the surface.
We're looking at the Earth.
This is North America, South America. This isn't the sky.
Please don't interrupt and talk over me when I'm explaining my position. That is, and those correspond to ground positions of stars. That is what we're looking at here. Okay, the overlay of the ground on the projection doesn't represent the actual geography of the ground. Australia is not really stretched out like that. You're looking at a coordinate system stretch that is relating geographic positions to stars. That is what.
So what is the actual non-projected shape of the Earth then?
Yeah,
the Earth,
according to you.
If this isn't, I mean, you presented this a bunch of times, and leading us to believe, like Edward Hendry, like Gleason, like 175 years of flat earthers have said this is the actual non-projected real distances, real everything of the surface of the Earth. But you seem, after your presentation, to not think that's it. Could you please present us the non-projected surface of the Earth measurements and distances and shapes
Yeah.
that you think it is.
So the lines of longitude on your map would have to converge somehow, like they do on a globe, right?
They don't have to
match.
converge anyway. If it's a merger of two hemispheres observed at different times but merged together, then no.
That's a
What did
globe.
you just say? That's a globe.
That's a globe. Oh my gosh.
We already
You
went
just
over
described a globe.
We already went over that objects in the sky are apparent to you, right? You see in a dome. of
We're
vision.
talking about the surface right here,
Yeah,
the
well,
surface.
and you're
No,
talking
about
a
the
coordinate
surface.
system.
and
That's what
you're
you're
talking about
How
Well,
can the
then let's
distance?
stop talking about a coordinate system. Just tell us what the surface looks like. Is this it or
then
something
put
else?
the map
What's
down.
the something else?
How
Show
can
us
the-
the something else.
How can the
The
distances be the same in the north and the south, physically, on your map?
well
I don't care about coordinate systems. How
Well,
physically can they be the same?
in the south, right? In the coordinate system that you're representing, holding up there. Guess where the biggest corrections are in astrogeodetic surveying to make it comport
Wow.
to symmetry? Guess where they are?
I'm going to guess they're not
I'm just gonna
answering this
need the
question.
citations
It's-
to answer
it's-
once you answer it.
It's-
Go ahead.
It's in the south. There we have tons of them.
Citation needed.
And I'll pull them up. We've got a lot on this database.
I'm sorry, what happened?
Astrogeodetic
question?
surveying, southern corrections, where they're the most
Oh,
extreme.
Australia, okay, hold on.
So anyway, as we continue here,
Now, I just want
as
everybody.
we
This is
continue
a
here,
flat Earth debate, and they refuse to say what they think the actual surface of the Earth looks like.
Right.
They
The
are
surface-
afraid of their own topic.
the surface
How-
of the Earth is flat. What you're holding up corresponds to positions of the stars.
Don't.
The-
Okay, fine.
the-
That's not
the-
your map. Where's your map?
That's what we're asking.
Yeah,
the,
where's supposed to see your map?
the geography is likely laid out similarly, but the stretches and distortions are not the same. Where they're not one to one.
Cool.
You're presenting.
Show us the non-stretched and non-distorted one.
We don't have one. All we have is
Oh,
the
you lost.
graticule and
You
multiple.
don't.
Then why are you
projections
even
of it.
here? Globe confirmed.
All you're doing is trying to back into the flat
Coordinate
Earth
system
from the
confirmed.
globe. And
Okay,
it's so weird to watch. Everything in the sky matches the globe. Everything on the ground matches the globe. But we're just going to back your way in and say
You
we
say
see
everything
we see
matches
globes.
the globe except
Yes,
for the
it
mutually
does.
exclusive timing predictions of the occlusion of stars.
Numbers
based on
on a
physical
spreadsheet
elevation
are
angle
not
differences.
To be fair,
If the Earth is
if you wanna
actually
let
tilted.
Alan finish.
Hold on a second. Yeah, this dude's been talking over me for a hot minute. No. We came here with 39 mutually exclusive measurements that show, with timing, that the star's position shows that the elevation angles of what is asserted by the globe is false. Right? Everything that you presented is positions of things in the sky with respect to when they can be seen. Hold on one second. You're shaking your head, but your whole presentation was positions of the Southern Cross, positions of this and that with respect to time, right? There's no way to differentiate the correctness of what you're asserting. That's why the celestial theodolite is introduced. That's the significance of this argument. You have nothing. You guys are fully disarmed here. You guys are, dude.
Disarmed.
This-
You said
yes.
it matched the globe, but that was just optical.
Yes, that's.
Then you made
we
a whole
see-
bunch of word
we
salad
see-
nonsense bullshit
You say-
about why that's not really what we're seeing.
Go ahead, go ahead.
That's what you did.
You say that, and
That's all you guys have.
You ignore the references, multiple things that in both models we see in a dome of vision, and everything in the sky is
You're
apparent to
making
us.
garbage up.
Can I screen share real quick, James? We're gonna
Yes.
have to
Is
go
it
ahead
a
and
pile
go
of
through.
salad you're going to screen share?
No, we're just gonna read some plain English.
Because
We're gonna
I'm
read-
hungry. We're just going to munch on some salad.
I need some blue cheese on mine.
You guys bring some?
All we have is ranch in the house. I need some blue cheese.
Left my oven mitts in the other room.
Oh, it's not.
I got mine. I got
One
mine.
second. I might. Okay.
I'm so out of water.
I got my oven mitt.
All right, here we go, boys. See, we might have glazed over this in the beginning, so you might have missed it. So here we have old and new astronomy, right? Down here, it's talking about
Don't see
how we.
anything.
Can you see the screen share now?
No, don't see anything.
Oh, 1 second. How about now?
Nope.
Tune, do you see anything?
Nope.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's as good as what you're going to show.
No,
I need some water while
Well,
you're
I will send a
showing this.
I will send a screenshot in the chat, so you guys can be on the same page here. But anyway, or if you want to pull up the YouTube chat or pull it up on YouTube real quick and just pause it, you can see what I'm reading here. So this is from New and Old Astronomy, 1920. It says, and in considering the cloudy sky, we have to remember. Oops, here.
We can't.
Crashed
I was
out.
not able to see it for the audience. So can you try sharing again?
Yep, gotcha.
And just in case you have other programs open, I would close those down. I don't know if that's what's causing it, but just in
No.
case.
It's a Linux issue, but I don't want to say it out loud because Shane will socially shame me. Okay, can you see that now? Is it working good?
No,
No.
it's still just
All right, let me close
hanging
and let me close and reopen real quick then.
What is that
Still
window
not
show?
working.
Uno momento, lads. Link again here. So sorry about that. Link, copy.
to get into it because I want to get these guys out of here by a decent time. And Alan, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Hopefully it works this time, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Not
God
working.
willing.
I think it's a Muslim thing. I
Yeah.
didn't know you're
It's
a
just
Muslim,
Arabic.
Alan.
It's just an Arabic. I mean, Muslims primarily say it, but I like it.
Just read the quote, Alan. Nobody can see it.
It's still
Yeah.
not working.
Okay, sorry about that, guys, but I'll
Not a
read
big
the quote. It's just text anyway. I'm just reading. So it's from Old and New Astronomy. It says, in considering the cloudy sky, we have to remember, if we rightly understand what we see, the usual. Oh man, it did it again.
No. Well, if I just leave it as it is, it just says Alan has started screen sharing.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's just a black-
you're good. You're good. Yeah, I understand. You're good. You're good. I'm back. So anyway, it says here, if we remember what we would rightly understand what we see, that usually the curve of the surface at which looks is much flatter than even this. If we mistakenly attribute it to the dome shape of the heavens, whereas in reality, the curvature is no greater than the curvature of the earth itself, which is under ordinary conditions imperceptible. So what he's saying here is that the equivalence of how the sky perceives with a curve, like that's just optical illusion. The sky is definitely not perceived in a dome. And then we have a solar panel manual here from the 1970s explaining how to set up your solar panels with the, what angle to have them tilted at with respect to your latitude and season. And they say here, they give the analogy, the sky dome, they call it the sky vault. The sky dome is the visible hemisphere of the sky above the horizon in all directions. The grid of the chart represents the vertical horizon angles on the whole of the sky dome, as if it were, as it is as if we were cleared a dome of around the observer when we charted it off and then peeled off the dome and stretched it out flat. So what they're saying here is that the real sun, right, is moving along here, but we see it projected in this dome. That's what they're explaining. And then NASA, explaining the moon illusion, is showing here the true position of the moon with respect to how it's perceived with the apparent moon. We always see the apparent, never the true. This dome of vision here that's represented on this graticule projection that's following the observer relative to the latitude is exactly how the globe was derived and measured, relative angles from Polaris. That's been a flat Earth assumption for quite a long time. Well, that if it wasn't,
it's exactly how Walter Bislin made it that you guys stole and used as flat Earth evidence. That's exactly how that made.
You're conflating two things. I'm talking about the latitude and longitude system, not this model. Like the graticule is
you
not
mentioned
this,
the model. So
Just keep in mind.
Anyway, hold on 1 second. I'm almost done. I'm almost done, man. Just let me finish.
I mean, you read this before.
yeah, this is a rehash.
Let's
Yeah,
we'll
the
give you a chance to
1970s
wrap up,
pamphlet
Alan.
from a
I'll give you
solar
a chance.
panel.
I'm going to go find my
I'll give you a
solar
chance
panel
to wrap
manual
up, Alan.
from when I ordered them.
Before
NASA
MC Tune.
So hold on, are you going to throw out NASA too? Because NASA's saying the same thing the solar panel's saying, which is saying the same thing the astronomical book from the 1920s is saying. So if you're going to throw out the 1970s solar panel book,
NASA says the Earth is a globe.
Do you say
cherry picking that? Super awesome. That's how things work. That's how it works.
What's in contention here is optical phenomenon and how we observe them. Not is it a globe. This is specifically is how we observe the heavens. This is independent of both models. What I was showing here is that this azimuthal grid here is the same as this one here that was used and shown earlier. You guys like this one? Same exact thing. Real sun over here, apparent sun projected relative to your latitude.
You don't see anything.
Yeah, nobody's seeing.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, that's a real shame. I'm so sorry about that. But that is you guys saw it at the beginning. But anyway, there's no difference between the two.
Yeah, they're equivalent, right? So we see the heavens the same in either model. You guys just use those observations to build the globe as a model. And by the way, the reason that it is because the celestial sphere and the graticule are aligned. They did so by taking right ascension and declination, matching to longitude latitude, which means that every star for every specific time has a ground position, right? That's how they get the zenith gets the ground position, which means for every point on the graticule is mapped on the celestial sphere. For every right ascension declination point,
You're
there's a
shooting yourself in the foot.
latitude.
Keep
the
going,
two
keep going.
models are the two spheres, right? If you read Ptolemy's geography, the first book about cartography, he says people have to accept the two sphere model. Either you accept that it's, a sphere, which he uses longitude and latitude, and he matches it to right ascension and declination. Those two models are just one model built from the other, and either one is model independent because neither one has measured the Earth.
My goodness, that was an excellent first law of Flurf. Thank you so much, Shane. The celestial sphere is a concentric sphere to the surface of the Earth. Awesome.
Geocentric around the observer with a sphere of infinite radius, which is made up of infinite
Around the Earth, not the observer.
observation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a concentric sphere. You just read it yourself. Awesome.
I didn't read it.
That is
Thank you for
that is the assertion.
It doesn't follow the observer around the Earth.
And it is a
you-
non-projected coordinate system.
Yeah.
Non-projected.
And you know what? If that non-projected coordinate system were true, the star occlusion timings would be completely different. But you don't
And
have that.
if the flat Earth were true, then one measurement would work, but none do. Like the one that I did that Shane was incapable of correcting me on, even though he said I did it wrong. He was incapable of showing the right way to do it. If
The
it's
39 measurements that we presented here have gone
No.
your ass, are you saying? So they're gonna concede on all of them, I
specific
guess.
one, the 2 degree elevation, slightly more than 2 degree elevation of the stars have to be 140,000 kilometers away. But you said that was wrong, but could not correct it, could not provide the right way to do the geometry.
I'll correct you. Were you drawing
infinite Euclidean?
Were you trying to draw a star to like, or does your triangle complete at the physical location of the star? Is that what you're saying?
Just like reality works.
Oh,
yeah.
Got you. So here's the conflation. So the latitude and longitude system is based off of setting, basically how far away you get from Polaris before you can't see it. So that defines everything at an equidistant. It's exactly what it is. That's how celestial navigation works. Everything.
No,
is
it's
set-
not. I can do celestial navigation. You can't. I've done it. You've never done it.
You can be upset he's interrupting you, but you just said some nonsense.
You're just wrong. It's not based on the elevation of Polaris.
James, if I'm trying to make a point and then they're both going to interrupt me, like,
Well, yeah, they can just do whatever. I think is how it works.
Can you just tell them to ease
Cry a
up?
little more about it, Alan. You're
One
stupidly
sec.
wrong.
To be fair, let's give Alan a chance
Shut the fuck
just to
up,
wrap
Mike.
up his point, and then we'll go back to you guys.
I can't remember what my point is now because
Your point was that where you were claiming that all celestial navigation is based on the elevation of Polaris.
Yeah.
I'll be here
Hilariously
reading
wrong.
through my solar panel pamphlet they gave me when I
It is. That's why the angles aren't
See.
mutually exclusive to either.
Notice
that's
how
why-
fast I
that's-
ran from the argument, though. and
That's
all
why
of
we
our
have.
measurements.
That's why we introduced the celestial theodolite to tell the difference.
Oh, look
between
at
the
that. I
two.
got a book on celestial
Mutually
navigation. You know what
Yes.
it doesn't tell us? You know what it doesn't tell us in here?
What doesn't it tell
that
us?
this was based on the elevation angles from Polaris. It doesn't say that in here.
Do you,
Why
do you know
are you
what?
guys so
Do you,
scared
do
of
you,
mutually exclusive
do you,
evidence?
do you know what they all
Nowhere
comport
in
to
here.
though? Elevation angles of Polaris. Isn't that weird?
They comport to elevation angles of every star in the celestial sphere, concentric around the globe. It's beautiful. This is all globe-based geometry, no flat Earth geometry in here at
Spherical
all.
coordinate system
So-
geometry.
so-
no
so you're
global
I'll show you
basically-
yours if you show me
Projected.
mine.
Hold on.
There you go. Awesome.
You're restating my
All right.
premise.
We got
as your
two people that can do
I do
celestial
wanna-
navigation
I do wanna
against two
give-
people that can't.
I want to be sure
they
Alan
don't care, James.
gets a chance to wrap up his point. Go ahead, Alan.
It's of globes.
I can find one
Yes.
too.
So
Moby.
No,
Hold
yeah,
on.
go ahead.
celestial navigation uses the celestial sphere, which sets everything at an equidistant web to one another. In order for the geometric relationship for Polaris to work, for example, as you walk away from it at 69 miles per degree, you would have the exact same relationship.
So what's
That's it.
Well, confirmed.
One
so
second.
again, it's a globe, but it just appears.
Well, no, because in order to do that trig function, right, you have to set that elevation angle to 6218. So that triangle sets an elevation of 6218.
We're not doing triangles.
Hold on,
one
let's
second.
just let him have a chance.
not you.
you're referencing a triangle that goes to the true position of the star out at infinity, basically.
No, we're not.
Which is not referencing anything physical. The coordinate
No
system.
triangles.
That was his two.
Just Euclidean or
I literally
Not a triangle.
I asked
One
you,
angle. It's an unangle. Unangle. One.
Let's go
One
back
angle.
to Alan. Okay, you
Very
said that
true.
many times. Let's go
I
back
asked
to Alan.
you specifically if it was a triangle, and then you said
It's not.
yes. So
No,
then
celestial navigation is not a triangle.
I'm not talking about
One
that
angle. An
part.
unangle.
I'm not
One
talking.
Let's
I'm not.
let's
I'm
give
not-
Alan a chance.
Listen,
All right, tell us about how we use triangles.
that unangle, right? Do you know what that also is equal to? Planar elevation angles of Polaris as you get 69 miles per degree.
I'm glad you brought that
Yeah,
up. That's
good.
great.
Good job.
Yeah.
How do you get those on
Oh,
a flat Earth?
Only works on a
Oh.
globe. The trig only
Ooh.
works on a globe. You are the one that said, hold on, let me see. Are you suggesting trig is an unreliable witness?
He did
That
say that.
only works on the surface of a globe. It does not work on the surface of something flat.
Ooh, it absolutely does if the curvature
let's see.
is
Run through it.
optical.
Show us the
Oh,
show
the
us
curvature is fake.
If the curvature is
You've
optical.
made a
well,
hypothesis. Got
I
it.
gave-
Show
I
us the
gave-
math.
I
Run
did
us
show
through
it.
the math.
I gave
Please.
you guys 3 citations
No, you didn't.
of how we see.
Show us-
in a
run
dome
us
of
through the
vision
math.
that corresponds
Alan,
to the same thing.
Do the math.
buddy.
You
buddy,
say it's possible. Show us the math.
if an astronomer says that we see the hemisphere of the sky projected into
They
our
didn't.
dome,
They didn't.
I
They were not
literally,
supporting
I,
your claim.
literally, I literally read it
Alan or,
verbatim.
MC2.
I read it verbatim, dog. You're gonna interrupt me as I read it verbatim to say that that's
Twice
not
already.
You're citing
like-
globe sources again.
Yeah.
Can you please show us how the math
Citing
works on the
globes.
flat
Just show
Earth?
us this the step by step
Triangles
math.
are
Yeah.
of
All
the
right,
globe. Is that what you guys saying?
I think we've reached the maximum.
How do you measure the
conclusion here.
angle? Start at
I'm
the
ready
North
for
Pole.
I'm ready for questions. What do you think?
Start at the
Alan?
North Pole. The star's above you 90 degrees. You walk away 69 miles. How much is the star drop in the sky? Right? 1 degree.
Depending on what degree. Does it do that at the
Yeah.
equator? If it's a precisely
Do-
linear
do
69 miles
another.
per degree when it's
Yeah.
half a mile above the horizon, or does that
Now you
break
can
down?
measure your
Do you need
angle.
corrections for refraction after that? Do you need a correction table that applies corrections based on a certain threshold? Are you
Yeah.
allowed to use
All
angles
globe.
below 15 degrees?
All
Do
globe
15
based.
degrees is linear? Can it be partially linear? If it's not linear at a certain point, is it actually linear?
All
Isn't
globe
it
based.
we-
Thank you.
Isn't it weird how you can't show me the math to how you come up with that on a flat Earth without using a globe?
Do mile. Don't do mile. Don't do the equator. Show us mile 2. Or sorry, degree 2
that's it.
from 69 from 70 right to 140. Show us that math. How about that one?
Whenever you're ready to move on to questions, James.
I'm ready. Let's go.
So the math doesn't work on flat Earth?
Thank
We'll
you.
jump into the Q&A. I want to say, folks, we are thrilled to have your questions. We're going to try to move fast as we've got a good amount of him here. A couple of other quick housekeeping things. Folks, thanks so much. We did meet that goal of we got a new Facebook follower. In fact, I think we had more than one. So thank you for that pity follow. It means more than you know. Appreciate you guys for being so supportive. And not only that, but thanks for your super chats, which we're going to jump into right now. The Q&A is beginning with this first question from Hangout44 says, okay, some of these are mildly insulting. Said, Shane, nice. Okay, I think they meant Shane. Nice neckbeard. You're amateurish, fumbling around, trying to explain relatively in earlier debates was super embarrassing. I think they meant relativity. Maybe tuck a book or two under your. Okay. Tango44 says, Shane. Well, we'll give you a chance to respond to that
as well
before I go to the
finish
next
it. You might as well finish it. To go on.
one.
I mean, hell, if you're gonna read
Where
all
do I
that, you
where do
might
I
as well
put the
keep
book that I'm
going.
reading? Where do I store it?
Well, it could get worse in terms
not-
of where you
let's-
place the books. But go ahead. We'll give you a chance to respond to that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I thank you for it. You should see the videos that we have on this exact topic at adl.place and spaceaudits.com. You can check out how we have the answers to your specifically, spaceaudits.net. Sorry. Also, you should check out kofi.com/spaceaudits and get yourself a sweatshirt. Then I'll answer your question.
Juicy. This one coming in from, do appreciate it. Kangle44 says Shane only has a script, so how can he do a live opener? Well, we got that live opening, so no problem there. Basil Problem says, Shane, you are a unique combination of low information and soy boy. Okay, geez. Next, if you want to
That might
respond
really
to that,
hurt
you
my
can.
feelings.
Yeah,
What am I
yeah.
going to do?
Yo, James, just read all the insults with a straight face. Don't pretend like you didn't see it, or that you're gonna filter them or feel bad. Just get in there.
Well, to get the feel about it, I have to like mistakenly assume that I value the opinion of neutral observers on the internet, which is a stretch,
Wow.
right?
Well, some of these I admit are I'm like, oh, I hate reading them because they're just mean. And I'm
Send it.
like, you know, folks,
It's words
even
on the
Lord
internet,
says,
dude. If people
They
have
can
to be
handle
mad
it.
about super chats, like it's whatever, dude.
even Lord says, do you praise the creator of the white devils, Jakob?
That one's almost as bad, to be honest. I don't
I
know
don't
what
know what
that
that
means.
means.
Carl Sagan says, Anthony Globe Whistle. Even Lord says, can you hunt and eat penguins in Antarctica?
Nope. We didn't even see any.
No
Wow.
pengies?
We were
This one from-
hundreds of miles inland.
It's because you weren't there. Be honest.
No penguins
This
in the
one-
studio, McToon?
No.
I'm just kidding.
We were,
This-
it was a little sad. People were like, yeah, does he penguins? No, I didn't see any. It was cool. I mean, it was awesome trip. It was super neat place to be, but there's no life there
Was
where
it?
we were.
We
No,
didn't
no
sleep.
trees.
It was
no-
always bright. It must have sucked, to be honest.
It kind of sucked at like 3 a.m. putting sunscreen on to go outside.
It looks
Wow.
unnaturally bright, actually.
Yeah, almost as
very
if it was
bright,
in a
very
studio,
reflective.
Melvin. This
Too
one from
crazy.
Basil Problem says, Alan, Terrence Howe believes the Earth is a globe. Do you know more math than him?
Terrence.
Terrence Howard.
Yeah, you can find more about my Terrence Howard opinions on spaceaudits.net.
Is it up or down on that? Alan,
Okay.
up
Who?
or down on his on Alan?
Oh,
Are you
Terrence-
up or down
On what?
on Terrence?
Oh, dude, to be honest with you, people ask me, like, Terrence mentioned ether. He mentioned, they're like, what does he say about it?
Don't give a shit.
I
Yeah.
haven't watched a single interview or anything. I
Okay.
couldn't speak on it. I have no idea.
This one, Basil Problem says, oh, we got that. Even Lord says, do you praise the creator of the, we got that one. This one from Kango for Forces, the channel Tunnel, the London Underground, the Boston Big Dig, the Gothard Tunnel, the Trans-Siberian Railway. These projects had to take the curve of the Earth into account. I find Alan and Shane blatant lying sad. Get a different grift, assholes.
Well, if they buy a
Okay, good.
sweatshirt, then we'd be grifting. So
They just
then we could,
optically,
yeah.
Was
they
that it?
optically took it
Was-
into account.
Was that a super chat for us?
Yeah.
So I pulled up a survey from a London project where they were saying that this subway system was made with globularity, explicitly or whatever, right? So I pulled up what they had asserted for their public plans or whatever. And what they did was they drew a meridian line through the center of the project, where it would be the straightest. And then they said, you can ignore all curvature here. And so, like, I don't know, like, when they say accounted for curvature, like, what exactly does that mean for the project? Because when you get into people making the assertions of like bridges and such, well, the bridge expands, thermally more than the asserted curvature that they would have accounted for. So how could you ever know? Like, what does that mean?
You got it. This one coming in from, by the way, thanks so much for your likes, folks. We're one like away from 150. Please. MC Toon said he will send photos, feet photos in particular, to your email inboxes if we hit 150 likes. Even though it says, can troglodytes, like Neanderthals that live underground, live without experiencing sunlight?
Good point.
I don't know what this means. Mike, 1986 dude, says, please explain the SAM stars in the night sky.
I don't know what that is.
Wow.
Same stars, maybe.
They capitalized the
He's
S
probably,
though.
maybe he was talking about my thing I brought up with the Southern Cross.
What did you
being
bring
seen I saw the Southern Cross at the same time from Australia and South America on a live TikTok live. We did it. Both looking southwest, right? So they both saw the same stars. Maybe that's what he's talking about at the same time on a globe that makes complete sense because you're both looking in the same direction. On a flat Earth, it does not, and you can't take coordinate systems as an excuse here. Okay, it's physically 90 degrees apart from each other on a flat Earth.
Gotcha. Yeah, my answer to that is that the observation of where the position of the bodies will be is not what's in contention, right? The physicality of them, like who knows, right? All we know for sure is where they're going to be and how fast they're moving. When we use something like it, when we introduce a way to manipulate the independent variable of where they're going to be, i.e. a mountain peak, we can test the difference in timing predictions of when that star should disappear.
That was an awesome deflection over to your other
This
observation.
one. From
It was a
Ajax.
direct answer to a non-mutually exclusive
wasn't.
claim. Position and
This one
timing
from
doesn't tell us the
Ajax.
shape of the Earth.
deflection.
You said you don't care because when you can measure it over here, it doesn't matter. That's what you said.
Ajax says Shane and Alan can't do algebra. You guys probably disagree.
Algebra is
Well, yeah,
where
you guys-
algebra is where I tapped out. I can do some algae. I got you on the alge.
The good old, mass equation when they do gravitational forces and centrifugal calculation where the mass drops out is pretty fun. That's a nice algebraic trick that we like.
This one from Alejandro Vallejo. Thank you very much. Says, oh, you like trigonometry, Alan? I'm sure then you would have no problem answering a simple question by showing us how you do the trigonometry math to solve a simple question. They said, here is the question, Alan. If I'm standing at the peak of Everest and the sun is 15,000 miles away, how high above the horizon should I see the sun? Feel free to input your believed height of the sun.
That's a great question. I would go to a trigonometry calculator and figure that out. Not going to do it live, but I don't claim to be a trig master, right? I use a spreadsheet and references, and I ask other people for verification if it's correct or not. So I'm not a math wizard. I'm not going to do math tricks for you.
However,
But
we do have videos of Alan doing math tricks at ADL.com and SpaceAudits.
Juicy to say the least. This
I have
one,
the answer 11.3 degrees.
Nice.
Even Lord says there are many ancient monoliths and temples that are aligned with certain stars and constellations, but they are now inaccurate. Why is this the case?
Well, which ones are you citing specifically? I am not familiar with any. The only one that I really know about was the Georgia Guidestones, which was destroyed. I'm not familiar with really any other ones.
This one from Basil Problem says, Shane, which Walmart do you work at? All right.
To what? Which Wally?
I actually have a video choosing which Walmarts I have worked at ADL.place and SpaceAudits.net. You should go check that out.
Wow. Penguin 44 says, Alan and Shane, can you please go into detail about your educations, which degrees and PhDs and what subjects you hold?
Yes, I dropped out of high school and got a GED. I went to DeVry for about half a year. And that's it. I dropped out of that as well.
I got bachelor's
In what?
English and minor in computer science.
This one from Noah's Ark, Kansas says, my girlfriend wanted to use laser measurements to prove me wrong. I wasn't happy. What is the benefit of measuring with lasers?
Well, that's a great question. That's why I prefer the with respect to what is your measurement, being taken, right? Because if you don't have some external reference for verification or a set threshold, right? Because we touched on refraction earlier. Well, if you use the equations for refraction, there's actually no limit, right? So, and you could introduce different ones, different coefficients to fit any observation. So you would have to set your own personal threshold to determine that.
So I think you missed the point of it. He was talking about like his claim is 8 inches, and he's actually in the measurement with lasers came out to 4 inches.
Oh, got you. Sorry, I missed the joke. Thank you. That's a good one. That's a good one.
First one coming in from Even Lord says, this debate supports physiognomy. I don't know how to say this word. Physiognomy unintentionally. Physiognomy, I know I can't say it right. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the idea that like you can look at person's physical features of like, for example, Melvin's MC Toon's, upturned nose, his perky nose, like suggests that he's like intelligent and sensual in nature. But Noah's Ark,
It's just optical. It's just optical.
By the way,
it's just an apparent hotness or whatever.
Thanks to folks, thanks for hitting the like button. That got us to 162. Oh, we got down to 161 because I just said that Melvin is sensual. But thanks for your support. MC Toon will be sending his sensual feet photos.
No,
if we get to...
actually just Mikey Smith's feet photos.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Noah's Ark,
that's all.
Kansas.
Do you get a discount for? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Noah's Ark, Kansas says flat earthers. How has this knowledge changed your life? I would also like to ask the same question to globe earthers. Has it changed how you perform your professional work or your interpersonal relationships? Any benefit?
Shane, you
We'll
want to kick
start
us
with
off?
Alan.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to pass it to Shane first. But yeah, so for me, it was evidence that there was a creator because it's like, you know, self-evident. If this place exists, it's flat, it's not moving, it didn't come out of a cosmology that's born out of something coming from nothing. Then the logical implication is that there's a creator. And that was very significant for me because the way that I understood cosmology and the world around me was through the mainstream paradigm of like, you know, we're an accident, living in a Goldilocks zone, etc. And I didn't have any room for God or spiritual connection or any sort of purpose like that. And now I have a more fulfilling look on life because it's like I take it as evidence that there's a creator, like direct evidence.
Yeah, it goes, let's see. So it goes like, if it's false, then it kind of predates a certain mentality. So you have things that, you know, the first isn't a globe, then you have no rotation, right? If no rotation, then no orbit. The Earth's not moving around the sun, then no gravity, no heliocentricity, no Big Bang theory, no evolution, and then you're not randomly here, puts you in a special place in the universe, violates the Copernican theory, which science is currently masquerading, you know, as philosophy, right? The philosophy that is the science, the Copernican principle, the fear that they are at the center. So the point would be, after you get all that, you end up at intelligent design, God, creator, right? So it's a much more different perspective on the world that it leaves you with. That's why.
Globey?
Wow. I mean, I've learned more about the psychology of it all, and I've learned a lot about the globe in doing this as well. But it's the fascinating part for me now is the psychology behind science deniers and how far they will go to deny reality and science and be so scared to admit they were wrong about things. And then what happens when they do admit they were wrong? I mean, perfect example is what's going on with Jaren over at Jarenism, right? Crazy stuff these science denier cult has led to, and that's what it is. It's a cult.
What happened to Jaren's channel?
He's not a flat earther.
He's not a flat earther anymore.
Oh,
He left the cult and has been ostracized and shunned.
okay. MC Toon.
Well, I take the exact opposite view. I think the Flurf god is pathetic and weak. He can only create a prison with an imaginary dome over the top. He couldn't make a massive, expansive universe like the Christian god can, like the Abrahamic god can, where we. The claim is that of all of the amazing, vast universe, that each individual one of us is still something important to him. That's a significantly more important thing than the pathetic Flurf god that made a prison.
Interesting. And folks, please, no more insults. We don't want to read, we're not going to read insults that are just nasty.
Unless you pay James $10 and then you can insult us.
This one from Tango44. No, I'm talking about the super chatters. One came in that really laid a good licking on you, but
Well, how
I'm
much
saying
was
that
it?
I don't.
It's $1,
two.
you know. Oh yeah, screw that. That's retarded.
$2. Come on, folks.
Two for dude. If you're gonna be insulting, at least
gotta do 10.
yeah, at least make it worth the man's time to read it. Like we'll sit here and listen. Like you guys want to throw tomatoes, we got you. But at least put in some effort, man. Show you care.
I don't understand. Why would you want people to insult you? You just you take is it some sort of like masochist thing? Why do you take so much pleasure in that?
No, I'm saying I don't care. We're saying that if people want to be cheap to insult, they should give you more money. It's to promote you and help you.
Yeah, I feel like if you only want to give us $2 to make fun of us, you don't want to make fun of us that bad, right? It's kind of like a weak little impulse.
You're not even trying. That's super low effort. You could do better. You could give Jacob more money.
Because the modern world is built by people that have studied and take that education and make stuff. The internet, cars, computers, MRI machines. Question for Alan and Shane. Can you please name something you have contributed to?
I've contributed to a great research in scientific suppression of measurements that led to a false merger of cosmology, philosophy, and physics, known as the heliocentric model. And I chronologically go through that, right? The history of ether physics, the history of interferometry on my YouTube channel, Space Audits, and you can find out more about that on spaceaudits.net.
Yeah, I'm just a regular dude. I work a regular 9 to 5 job.
I
I'm an
just
accountant. I play
just
with
work
Excel.
here.
Like, I
Yeah,
just
dude,
work here, man. It's fine.
This one from Isa Kabir says, what was your opponent's weakest argument and why?
Well, pretty all of them, because they were all positions of objects in the sky with respect to time, which was our premise. And that was their conclusion. So the difference there is that they don't have anything mutually exclusive in terms of what can the sky tell you about the ground without making assertions. Now, what we introduced was evidence where we have timing differences that comport to specific geometry, right? The calculation angle is going to be different if the Earth is a globe versus if it's flat, which is going to give you a different timing that the star is vanishes. Right? So you have a guilty, not guilty scenario here, and every time it shows up, the measurements comport with a flat Earth prediction.
Is that to us too?
What's the weakest argument from your opponents? The one where you're like, man, that's just garbage.
I would say it was the bringing up FE core, which he talked about refraction. He specifically claimed refraction. I brought up the actual refraction and showed how it was wrong. That was the weakest.
I'd say it's the general premise, which is the Earth's a globe. It appears to be a globe. Everything's a globe. Everything in the sky moves like a globe. That's just how we see.
This one from Alexander L. says, for Alan, are all photos from space fake?
The ones that are asserted to be from space, yeah, I would say so. Right? We get into a chain of custody issue for verification. So how would they know?
One of them might be real. We don't know. That's a tough
There
assertion. to make,
there could be a real one out there. Who knows?
David Villar says, Alan, you are violating the 45-degree rule. Look it up.
Will do. I'll check it out.
Isn't there a video of you looking up the 45-degree rule?
Oh, you can find that video on spaceaudits.net, I think.
Basil Problem says, Alan, please explain the units in the question. Attitude underscore peak equals negative tangent ellipsis.
Units? So the relative elevation of the sky, the elevation of the peak, or the distance to the peak. So we add those together and we multiply that by the angle that we calculated from the earlier calculation.
Distances in meters, angles in degrees. Is that what he's asking?
I think he was saying like define the variables and what they're doing. I don't know.
This one coming in from Alexander L says, Alan doesn't understand E10 math. At most, he passed algebra.
Correct.
Tony Coriolis says, is the zodiac 12 or 13?
Ooh, good question.
Good question. No.
Shane, you're
it doesn't matter.
You're the
It's just arbitrary things that people have assigned to
made up.
Different positions in the equatorial region of the sky. So I mean, you can define 34 of them, or 75, or 27 of them, and just define however many constellations you want.
Well, the question is how many though, because there's 12 or 13 people. There's an argument to be made for 13 to match the lunar calendar of 13 months and do a whole big thing, but I'm actually not sure what the 13th constellation is.
It's completely arbitrary. Some people say 12, some say 13, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change any geometry. It's just, hell, somebody else picked a different group of stars that they think looks like some shape.
Okay. This one coming in from, do appreciate it, Earthly Skeptic says, Shane's angle from the ground works out to be tangent, caret, pointed up, -1. I'm going to just repaste this in chat too. And then parentheses, 2,704 kilometers divided
Inverse
by
tangent is what you're looking for to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just put it in chat in case you want to even be able to decode it more for me. divided by 50.7 kilometers. And folks, that's in the live chat. I just put it in there. Equal to
What was the first number on the top of the numerator of that fraction?
let's see.
You've got
It's
inverse tangent of something over 50.7.
yes, 2.074 kilometers
Okay.
over 50.7 kilometers equals 2.34. I can't tell the symbol. My eyes are too old. I think
Degrees.
it's like
Degrees.
thank you. Or 2 degrees, 20 degree,
20
comma,
arc minutes.
not 2 degree 31 little line. I can't tell if it's an apostrophe or not. So wrong in all caps, even without considering observer height.
Well, he's using the wrong figures, so I'm not sure what's going on there, right? So you also have some unit disagreement, right? So you want to do altitude in meters or, kilometers. So 2,000.
He did them both in kilometers.
He did. And then the distance, 50,700 meters, right? So the tangent of 2,226 over 50,700 comes out to 2.51 degrees, but then you translate that to arc seconds, 2 minutes, 31 arc, 2 degrees, 31 arc minutes. That's how it comes out, right? So I don't know.
Oh, did he have it in decimal degrees or something?
I think he might have converted it wrong.
I made that mistake once.
It happens to the best of us.
Dude,
I remember my first time doing this type of math.
dude, I got the wrong number and I was like, what? What does this even mean? But the issue was me. So,
well, Tango44 says you also have other issues. In particular, they said, Alan and Shane, can you please post the Facebook link of memes that you obviously learned all your science facts from?
absolutely. So the link is spaceaudits.net. And if you click that link, if you go there, right, you can click on a link to the coffee shop, right? You can go there, you can buy a hoodie right now. And if you buy a hoodie within 24 hours of this debate, you get 33% off your next purchase. It could be a hat or a hoodie.
Wow. This one, I'm on my way.
We actually do have a published database and PDF library as well at spaceaudits.com, as well as t-shirts and hats.
And hoodies.
Basal problem says, Alan, please explain the trigonometric tangent function, i.e., what does it mean geometrically? What are its input units? What are its output units?
It's the ratio of a length of the opposite and adjacent angles of a triangle. So,
okay, this one from Pink Floyd. Jesse found the Blodgett Peak data is closer to globe than flat, and Greenhorn reading was off by 2,000 feet. Tune, check Discord DMs for lewd and lascivious photos.
Ooh, fantastic question. Shane, I'm going to screen share on Discord. Can you screen share on...
Yeah, did Linux break your screen sharing?
Yeah, just relay it for me.
All right, I got you.
Yeah, just it's not working for me on Zoom. But yeah, we'll address that real quick. So let's see. Quote unquote close to globe doesn't mean anything.
First.
Oh, you know what? Well, I'm on. Oh, you're just gonna just share it through Discord. I'm on Discord. Just screen share. But I'm sharing on Discord.
While they are doing this, there we go. Thank you very much.
Quote unquote close to globe doesn't
mean anything.
First. Oh, wait, one second. You're sharing the audio. Oh, you're just gonna.
All right, they can see your Discord now in case you have anything lewd and lascivious.
Echoing a little bit. Are you good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, cool. So let's see. So for Blodgett Peak, close to globe doesn't mean anything, right? We can comport. That's why Mike made the change the calculation here to do altitude of peak is equal to altitude observer plus the distance to the peak times the elevation angle. So we can derive what the actual elevation angle would correspond to, because sometimes the angles look ambiguous. But as you can see here, let's see, when we go to Blodgett Peak, none of them correspond to the to the globe, right? Like you're either you're either later with that threshold or you're not. Like there's no close to the globe. That doesn't mean anything. And then secondly, the Greenhorn Mountain observations were done at the longest distance that this has been tested at so far, which is about 80 miles. And what has been found is that the peaks that are between and behind Greenhorn and North Peak are compressed and occluding, right? It's hard to tell what's what. And when Mike realized the area that he was recording was in the wrong spot, and he would need to find out which peak is occluding to differentiate the stars, because the calculations, give they don't comport to the trend that we're seeing here, where these are all like reasonable, plus or minus within a couple of each other, right? And then we have this anomalous thing here. But I think this is a product of optical compression at this extreme distance here, and we're analyzing the wrong peak. So Mike is analyzing that right now for those measurements. So in the big indicator that this is not the correct peak that's doing the occluding, so attributing this to Greenhorn, the reason that this isn't applicable is because Greenhorn is higher than North Peak by 489 meters, and they're 1.5 kilometers apart. But in the videos that you're going to look at, or in this analysis from Jesse, Greenhorn appears to be slanting upwards to North Peak. That's geometrically impossible. So the spot that he thinks he's identified as Greenhorn is not the correct location. We are waiting for better viewing conditions and a further analysis from Mike to determine the discrepancy there. But irrespective of that, right, at this extreme distance, we have distances between 20 and 50 miles where where everything, like where it works just fine.
Yeah, and that argument would mean that 38 measurements match ours and one measurement would match ours, even if that was correct and confirmed. And that's still a very weak position, I think. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
So for reference, Jesse, Path of Light is wondering about a debate with you, Alan, and would love to do that. Maybe James would be interested in hosting that, or somebody else. But
I see him every Monday for the celestial theodolite update that we do weekly on Geos. I don't personally like Jesse, and I won't be interacting with him other than that. So he can see me there.
Wave the white flag.
I like that. And this one coming in from Even Lord says, Alan and Shane, do you think that the WW2 Germans' Antarctic colony, New Swabia, is still around under American control? Do you think the final experiment was overseen by those colonists and American government?
Is that a real base? I have no
That's
idea.
new. Wow.
Yeah, I don't
Never
met her.
Of Antarctica by Nazi Germany between 38 and 39. Schwabenland. Dude, maybe. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. Honestly, that's the craziest question I've heard.
JSS Tiger says, can a flat earther tell me what the tangent of 45 degrees is? Thanks, guys.
Yes, the answer to that question can be found on spaceaudits.net. And if you click on the coffee shop there, you can check out the Ether Cosmology limited time merch.
Tangent of 45 degrees.
One unit circle is how
Hey,
they did it before calculator.
the question was for us, McToon, I believe.
Yeah, you're diverting. Got
Shh. I'm answering a question that was directed at me and not you. Your commentary is unnecessary.
Got it. Thanks a lot. Divert away. Proceed.
Alejandro says, we all know why shame Saint Plagiaire refuses to
Plagiaire, yes.
Plagiaire. Was I saying it right? Refuses to answer. He has multiple times admitted he uses the globe for all calculations of his quote-unquote model.
Yeah.
No, it runs on sun azimuth and elevation, which are model independent.
I've looked at the source code on your webpage. It includes the radius of the globe and the distance from the Earth to the sun.
Luckily we talked about how that was derived in the equivalence there.
It doesn't change anything. You use a globe, you admit the Earth is a globe.
Listen,
just claim it's equivalent.
All of your geometry on your website uses the globe.
He has a solar panel manual that says
the solar panel manual from the 70s. I forgot.
it's equivalent.
The solar panel manual.
Oh, you're not going to reference. You're not going to reference NASA or astronomy. You're not
That
going to
totally
reference astronomy.
debunks all the geometry in his own
not gonna-
website. That's globe.
You're not going to reference NASA. You're not going to reference the astronomy manual. You're not going to
sorry,
reference
NASA
stellarium.
says the Earth is a globe too. I'm sorry, I should have referenced NASA too.
The claim is
I generally
specifically
don't,
about
but
how the
I'm
objects in
fine
the
if you
sky are
want.
perceived.
NASA says the Earth is a globe. They got pictures. They send back.
Well, what
James.
it
Hundreds of
actually
pictures
is,
a
right,
day.
is the size
James.
of the solar
Hey,
disk is
1
0.56
second. Stop.
degrees.
Everyone just stop. James, why are you letting this happen? We're doing super chats. We're having a full back and forth talking over each other. Are you going to do something or next
Would
question?
you like to go to the next?
Next,
I
please.
can't understand if your concern was that you want to go to the next question.
My
Namely, or were you
my
spending too
my
much time on this?
My concern is that when everyone's talking over each other, you specifically are the one that's supposed to be like, hey, this isn't, we can't do that. Sounds like audible dog shit. Nobody can hear or talk or get a point across.
So there,
Actually,
of course,
you
will be different thresholds for when people are like, okay, that's enough.
And,
But
and on top of
in the
that, the
obvious
question
case-
was for us.
all right, am I allowed to actually answer your question?
I
Alan?
disagree with everybody.
Sorry.
Is that there's at some point, some threshold, even like you and I would actually agree where it's like, you don't have to jump in yet. Like if it's just like for a second, then obviously you just let it go. And then some people will say, oh, but if it's 2 seconds, then you jump in. Mine's pretty laissez-faire. So it is kind of like modern day debate is pretty much, it is kind of blood sports here. But if you want more moderation where we move to the next question, for example, we can do that.
If it
Well,
gets
I
to
wasn't
a
sure if your
point,
concern was more about the being interrupted or wanting to go to the next question rather than
Yeah,
keep going on
yeah.
with this one.
yeah, well,
both.
both, right? Because one, the question was for us. Two, talking over everyone, nobody could hear anything. Now all that time that was spent is gone. Nobody
Which was the
can
point.
decipher anything, and we should just move on. And if it comes to something like that where everyone's talking over each other, like he was about to do, just be like, hey, we're next question. No,
Yeah, I'll let you go there. But in our defense, when you answer the question with plugging your website and t-shirts, I think that opens the door for other people to jump in. No,
Yeah, I'm going to jump in when you do it. Go to the sales presentation.
It actually
Right.
doesn't open the door for that.
I think it does.
I'm gonna promise.
Yeah. Nope.
When a sales presentation comes up in a debate about
All right.
science, I'm
All right.
jumping in.
Oh, you're gonna jump in? 1 second. I got you, Brody.
This one coming in from JSS Tiger says, the Haversine formula uses angles from the center of a sphere for latitude. Flat Earth latitude is a distance measurement, not an angle.
That's true. Very true.
All of it's always calculated. No one measures it.
Latitude is synonymous with elevation angles to Polaris in the northern hemisphere. What do you mean? Like,
It's only ever
it's
been
not.
calculated. Yo, for some reason, there's another side talking. That's super weird because we're actually the side that's supposed to be talking and answering questions and moving on. We're not here to continue the debate after the fact. We're trying to move on. So continue. Or please be quiet while we're speaking and don't talk over us. No one's plugging anything. No one has answered. He's trying to answer a question so we can move on. So don't do that, McToon.
This one from JSS Tiger says, the Havers, we got this one. This one from Basil Problem says, Alan, let altitude underscore observer be X and distance to peak be Y and true elevation, parentheses, holded star, be a multiple of N asterisk, I'm going to put this in chat just so people can look at it, pi divided by 2, where N is equal to 1, 3, 5. What is altitude peak? Is it infinite? I'm going to put that in live chat too, just so you can see the question yourself if you'd like, Alan, because I know that's a mouthful.
Yeah, not sure.
All right. This, you could plug your t-shirt though. If you want to do that.
Not every time.
This one from Bucksod Buster says, Shane, you like to take shots at my people hiding behind your keyboard, huh? Tishmore Al Hagav Lock.
Well, I mean, I take shots wherever. I'm taking shots at Mike right here. That's fine. That's all in good fun. No one's upset.
Basil Problem says, Shane, what are your grooming recommendations for that magical neck beard?
Shave it once every 2 weeks is what you do. Yeah.
The standard issue cleanse, they call it.
Yeah, like you use the same width as you do your head because it's easier.
David Villar says,
I'm
Alan,
efficient. Says
coordinate system, quote unquote, corrections don't make people teleport across the vast southern flat Earth distances.
That doesn't make any sense. The
a
coordinate system
question?
is symmetrical. The projection makes it appear as if it's not symmetrical, but it's referencing the same thing. The distance is the same. It just looks different. So the correction actually shows you what the actual distance would be, because a lot of people will draw a straight line, right, on a Gleason's, which isn't the right one, right? When you do the corrections and apply it correctly, it makes a curved line that's the same distance as it is in the north.
You got it. This one
Wow.
from Alejandro says, Tune, Globy, do you think Shane and Alan are too stupid to realize how dumb they sound? Do you think they are just full of themselves and arrogant, or both?
I think they know. I think they know.
I think he's selling shirts.
Yeah.
I think he's pushing traffic to his website, selling shirts.
They had this in their presentation a bunch of times, but when it comes down to it, like, oh no, that's not what we think the Earth actually is.
Right.
But they won't say what they think the Earth actually is.
Well, he just said he knows it. It has curved lines, curved longitude lines, he said. So why not draw it out? Make yourself famous.
Yeah, yeah.
Make it work.
This one from Earthly Skeptic. Flat Earth predicts Polaris elevation is equal to 30 degrees at 12 degrees north latitude. Globe predicts 12 degrees. Measurement equals 12 degrees. So agrees with globe and disagrees with flat.
Hypothesis, null hypothesis. Got it. Globe confirmed.
All right. Richie says, Alan provided zero evidence. ... Idiot? I don't know if they're asking if I'm an idiot or like if it's directed at Alan.
It's ambiguous to say the least, right? So there's a non-zero chance he's talking about you, man.
Dude,
We'll
there's
split it.
definitely
I'm
a
just
video
kidding. We'll
about
split
how
it.
We brought that up in the beginning when we said we brought measurements and evidence of laser test FE core plus 39 measurements of star occlusion times that agree with the flat Earth perspective. But thanks for affirming what we predicted in the beginning.
But what if those measurements are shit?
You mean
Well, they're not.
Don't
because
forget that.
They correspond
could
to a
be.
specific time.
What if your collimator is broken, but you still do the observation anyway?
What if the time never matches the globe prediction because the elevation angle is actually planar?
This one coming in from David Villar says, Alan, you call all optical alignment an illusion.
Well, there is a spatial field and there is a visual field. When things are close to you, like for example, my cup on my desk, it's pretty linear. So the chances that I misperceive where my cup is at is pretty low, right? But as things get further away, and then based on their size relative to you, that scaling is different. And as you get at the extreme distances to the horizon, that's where the effects become the most extreme. This is noted in all the citations that I talked about earlier, where people were proposing different theories and different curvature rates optically to explain the mechanistically in a unified theory of how we perceive things, and that difference, because it is a known difference. It's just that if you start applying it, you're going to have to explain why surveying measurements aren't accounting for any sort of perspective in regards to the geometry of how we see.
This one coming in. Kang044 says, quote, though we see in a dome of vision, unquote, does LiDAR, am I saying it right? See in a dome of vision, does time of flight cameras see in a dome of vision? How about a pinhole camera? Does radar see in a dome of vision? This was very embarrassing.
Well, it depends on the radar system and how the wavefront is being propagated. Like, it's going to spread out spherically. So, I'm not sure that, that's kind of a malformed question.
You got it. This one coming in from, do appreciate it. JSS Tiger says, I would like to see a diagram of the latitude angle for Haversine for the flat Earth. Something that shows an angle with a vertex and two rays.
Awesome. I'd love to see that.
Great question.
Can't answer it, then you can see there's the globe.
This is coming in from Sod Buster says, MC Toon, who do you think smells worse, Shane or Arwin? I don't understand. Why do they spell Alan as Arwin?
No, it's Arwin. Arwin is a different person, and the answer is Arwin.
Who's Arwen?
Arwin's a flat earther from the Netherlands.
Oh.
Part of the Oakley crew, and he got
yeah.
ostracized. He was looking for
Yeah.
a home recently.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's got a crossbow on his wall.
Oh, all right. Well, let's just move on. I don't know nothing about none of that.
Poor Arwin. This one from Desmond Smith, parentheses Des, says, I honestly don't understand how this is still a topic. Flat earthers are clearly lying to other people or lying to themselves. This is crazy.
For sure.
Thank you for your question. You guys know the answer, though, right?
Was that a question for us? I can't remember.
I think it was
for
a
us?
More of a
statement.
comment.
Oh, gotcha.
General.
Just start giving us the dollar amount so we can decide how much we want to answer.
Dude, yeah, that determines the effort. How much effort? So read off the dollar amount if possible.
Actually, $5.
That's decent. That's decent.
You wipe your ass with $5 bills. Is that what you're saying?
I'm gonna tip the pizza man $5. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that wasn't even
Desmond?
a question. He got an insult. We said $10 for insult. So
Desmond Smith says, oh, we got that one. Dr. Heckle says, why do they use stars as proof for a flat earth when they don't believe stars are real?
Ooh, great question. So whether or not whatever we conceptualize a star as being is not important. What's important is when the star is there and when it's not there. And that time you can derive specifically angles that correspond to either planar trigonometry or what the globe would predict, meaning the time would be different. It would take longer because the star has to get lower in the horizon. So it doesn't matter what they are, what we believe they are. What matters is, can we see them or not?
and it's mutually exclusive to, disprove the globe every time.
This one. Okay, sorry. This one coming in from Noah's Ark, Kansas says the only thing this debate has convinced me of is that anyone who cares about the shape of the earth is gay. I'm surprised.
All right.
Respect.
I'm surprised James sat in on this. I would leave if not for the Q&A. Anyways, amazing. 07. I don't know what that means.
Fair enough. Touche.
Dude,
Is that some
salute.
new? Okay. Very gay bunch here. Dr. Heckle, thanks for your question. Al Capone MMA says, explain gravity gradient measurement on the flat earth model. You soy boys.
Gravity gradient measurement. With what tools are we talking about here? It didn't list anything specific for us to
Talking about
talk
pressure as the
about.
container, right? To keep the atmosphere in.
No,
If the
no,
ocean
that
can't have a
it would be
container.
with a gravimeter. The gravimeters measure a reduction in the magnitude of gravity with increasing elevation.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I don't know. I have to think about that one. It's a good question.
You know where you can find a video of Alan thinking about that?
Where, Shane?
SpaceAudits.net.
What's there?
Well, there's the playlist of you doing just that, and also, hoodies, t-shirts, and hats.
Nice.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it. Basil Problem says, MDD, please confirm with Alan. Terrence Tao believes the Earth is a globe. Does Alan know more math than Terry Tao, not Terrence Howard?
We don't know who either one of those people are.
I don't know who you're one of them.
Simon Allen, thanks for your kind super chat. Appreciate it. Tyson Dog says, if celestial navigation is based on the angle of elevation to Polaris, what is the angle from Sydney, Australia, sailors used for nearly 200 years?
What?
No one said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys did.
Jack
Yeah.
Fetter says,
Yeah, sailors use celestial navigation in the southern hemisphere, but they can't see Polaris.
You said it's based on
Yes,
the angles of
and-
Polaris.
And every star in the sky comports to the same relationship in the northern hemisphere, yes or no?
Yes, and that relationship
Great.
is a
That's
linear difference with this with oh my gosh, with the same distance across the surface of the Earth, completely matching a globe and contradicting anything flat. It needs to be an asymptotic relationship if it were flat, but it's not. It's linear.
Shane, what was it about the correction angles at different elevations with respect to how far things are away from you? Comporting to exactly what we predict with that linear
Not
so-called
asymptotic.
Please do not interrupt, sir. We are trying to wrap this up, and if you're going to interject on my question, then remain silent while we answer. Don't be rude.
Yeah, if you're getting distances based on optical angles, the further it are, it seems to like as it compresses into the horizon, it approaches a logarithmic scale, right? And the atmospheric corrections for that would be the inverse of those observations. So the atmospheric corrections actually straighten it out the further you go as it recedes into obscurity, right? That's when it approaches
I would
the
love to
logarithmic
see.
scale.
I would love to see the math applied to that, but you won't. You don't. You can't.
Well, that's why
Thank
it's
you.
not linear, right? Because past the equator, when you're
I
seeing
just love to
Polaris,
have you show it to
and
me.
you have a calculation for how far it would be based on its proximity to the horizon. A degree above the horizon isn't going to give you a linear relationship, so it can't be partially linear. It can be linear
Oh, it
sometimes.
certainly can. The globe predicts that. It does. Flat Earth does not.
So
You always tell when someone's confident about it when they say right after everything they say too, right?
You can reference the correction angles in almanacs though for that, and traverse tables with respect to the angles
But they're
as they
not
approach the horizon.
asymptotic. They're not asymptotic corrections.
Your conclusions are premise.
They're not
This one.
asymptotic. They must be asymptotic for flat Earth.
According
That's
to
not
who?
that's not a get out of jail. free card.
Geometry. According to an application of geometry, they have to be asymptotic.
Our premise is that we see in a curve, we see the exact same thing.
That's
Dude.
it's your
Your
baseless assertion.
Your conceptualization
You say
of the
that
man.
that's how we see things.
All right, dude. So I'm not going to be talked over for a question that I was asked, number one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to speak here. So you have singular zenith measurements of stars when trigonometric functions were completed to traverse the ground and then take the zenith measurement. So you have a deviation from where it's expected to be. That's all you have for an explanation of curvature. We have mountain timing occlusions that are mutually exclusive to us using the same star occlusions, stars that you believe are only work on the globe, imposing straw men of asymptotic conditions that saying that we can't have that. It has to be linear on a flat earth. Well, guess what, dog? We see in a dome of vision. What does that create? A logarithmic scale of change. And that's exactly what I was referencing there. So now we're going to move on to the next question. Now that I've answered the question that was asked to me and I'm not being talked over by McToon like that. So next question, please.
Question. This one from Jack Fetter says the level of flurf derp these guys spew is exponentially stupid. You guys are wasting your lives on something a 7th grade math student can prove.
Well, a 7th grade math student proved that using star time occlusions, you can differentiate between the shape of the Earth using mutually exclusive occlusion timings that have thus far only shown evidence for a flat Earth.
We don't look at the sky to prove the ground around here, okay?
No, you don't do that.
Was our question.
This one from
Where?
Earthly Skeptic says Terrence Tao.
Hey, real quick before you move on to the next question, if they're going to interrupt and interject it on the back of every question, I'm just going to leave. I will stay for every question, but I'm not going to be harassed and like on the back end of this. Like, there's no reason for any of this. Like, this dude's trying to chime in right now as if he has something to say. Like, he's not acting like an asshole.
Do is because I actually agree with you that if you get asked let's say someone raises an objection to you, you answer it, then it would be like, all right, like, you know, they equal each other out or balance each other out.
Okay,
but
so
then
so is it a back
hold
and
on,
forth?
shut up for a second. Okay, so but then if you have MC Toon who's like, oh man, that was so stupid because of X, Y, and Z, I agree with you. Then it's like, well, you should get a chance to respond to MC Toon before we go to the next one, because otherwise it's like you're being teamed up on by both the question asker plus MC Toon, and you only ever got to respond. You only got your say once, but there was 2 like responses from the globe side. Or like, yeah. So let's have you end with some of these where you get the last word. In fact, like, let's actually have it be where from now on, you get the last word. So if it's a question for you, you'll get the last word, including if MC Toon or would you rather just be like, hey, like no more rebuttals because this is just going to take forever?
No more rebuttals.
It's going to take forever.
Hey, here's an idea. Wave your hands.
Here's another idea, McToon. If the question is directed at me, don't talk. If a question is directed at you, I won't talk. That's how I've been acting this whole debate, and you're not treating me with the same respect, and I don't appreciate that. Right? When you get asked a question, am I going, that's stupid, blah, blah, blah. Am I doing that? No, I'm silent. So just show me the same courtesy. I don't care about your hand waving method, dog. We're not doing that. I'm not having a back and forth with you endlessly on questions. He's asking a question. I give an answer. We move on to the next one. If you have a question, if someone wants to ask you a question, they can donate to James with a super chat directing it to you. Please do not talk and interrupt me like that. It's uncalled for.
Either going to give Alan the last word in terms of the person asking the question, or it sounds like he'd prefer like, hey, like let's just go through a number of them without a rebuttal, because otherwise it is true if we have everyone having a rebuttal. Otherwise, you have to at least be okay with him having the last word if you do get a rebuttal. This makes sense, right? Okay, this one from Jack Fetter says the level of, we got that one. Earthly Skeptic says Terrence Tao has degrees and is from quote unquote Los Angeles. I don't know what their point is.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Do you have any other factoids about Terrence Tao that we could learn about before we wrap up here? Because I think there's he probably went to high school somewhere. Where did he go to high school? Because I think I might know Terrence Tao. You said he was in Los Angeles. What year was that?
I think it was at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, we'll have that guy super chat and ask it to figure it out.
Alejandro Vallejo says, so Shane and Alan love to talk about trigonometry and science, but are too dumb and too coward to do either of them live. Classic flat earthers.
I just use a calculator, and I'm not.
Ooh, there's actually there's videos of us doing math at adl.place and spaceaudits.net.
This one from Basil Problem says, Shane, since you have a minor in computer software, what's your favorite programming language?
Ooh, I learned Java and I learned then JavaScript, but now I'm into Python, which is cool and easy to use.
Child of Yahweh MD says MC Toon's standard refraction doesn't account for vertical temp gradients at surface. Genius. Refractive coefficient at surface found to be minus 2.7, not 1.3, making surfaces, i.e. mountaintops, appear shorter during the day.
I don't know if he's talking about the FE core measurement or not, because that certainly wasn't the case. And the pressure differential from the ground, where the vantage point 1 to the vantage point 2 is a reduction in pressure, and so it's only at the lower levels of the air that the temperature is the critical point. Once you get above that, it's the pressure that's the dominant one.
Yeah, okay, you got it. Some people are getting so pissed at, okay, Child of Yahweh MD says, James, seriously? I don't understand why they like this one from Dr. Heckle says, how does Shane, oh, you're right. I mean, it is blood sports here, and we say we'll let people say anything that's within YouTube terms of service. So how does Shane wash his multiple necks?
With a what's a gay scrunchie I can name? I don't know. Whatever that water bath thing is.
What was the dollar value? Hold on.
That one was $1.90.
Bro, you know,
I wouldn't even have given that one. Come on, James.
Bro, you know the rules. $10 for a response.
It's not about the money. It's about blood sports, which is where you let strangers on the internet say whatever the hell they want.
It's a loofah, by the way. Now I'm going to mute again because I don't want to interrupt.
Thank you, Globe.
Noah's Ark, Kansas. Oh, wait, go ahead. Somebody want to say something? Sorry about that. Was that Shane or McGlobeface?
I was just interjecting with that's a loofah, and I only know that because I have one.
Wow. Because I can't, you guys are going to both be insulted by this. I can't tell the difference between Shane's voice and McGlobeface. You have literally the exact same voice.
I literally hate you.
I'm sorry. But look at Shane. Shane looks kind of proud. He's like, oh, okay, I'll take that. Like,
well, no, I was laughing at Globey's response immediately. He was like, fuck you. I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense that he hates me so much.
I couldn't even tell who said that. I mean, I saw Shane's mouth moving, but I was thinking this sounds like it's McGlobeface still talking.
All right, give us something both to say real quick, and we'll do it side by side.
I enjoy the loofahs.
I enjoy the loofahs.
I enjoy the loofahs.
Okay, it's not
It's
exactly.
not even
You guys,
close.
one of you changed it, Globeface. You changed it.
I did not.
Dude, Mandela, he used to sound like Shane. I remember.
Noah's Ark, Kansas is Alan. So you could not believe in God without creation being flat. It is the same with a globe. Shane is beyond lost. He won't understand.
Well, a big thing for me was the logical contradiction of everything coming from nothing. Like I just didn't have room for any spiritual meaningfulness, right? I just didn't interpret it that way. But, after you change cosmologies, right? You're like, oh, well, it logically tracks that it was created, right? Like no one's ever seen a DVD player that wasn't made by another man, right? So somebody obviously made this place. Now, obviously mainstream doesn't necessarily say that there's no god or anything like that, right? But I'm saying the way that I internalized what was being put forward cosmologically, I was like, oh well, I mean, how could there be a god if my boy Jupiter's out there, weighs this much, as a gas giant that came from the sun, ejected as a, what do you call it, a can't remember the word for when a planet's born or whatever,
Projectile?
but yes, same thing. But yeah, so it just didn't leave any room for me in that regards. Just couldn't see it.
You got it. You got it. Thank you very much. And if you forgot to subscribe, folks, I just flipped on that subscribers only chat mode. This one coming in from Noah's Ark, Kansas, says Alan, so you could not believe in God without creation. We got that. Jack Fetter says, by the way, folks, you won't regret subscribing. I've got to tell you, we have a tour planned for Modern Day Debate this year that you'll be like, James, how? Like, what happened? Whoa, this is like game changing. It's seriously going to blow your mind. It's going to, in the words of MC Toon, it's going to be orgasmic. This one from Desmond
didn't see
Smith
that.
says, it is a cult. These dudes know they're lying. Wait,
Yep.
what is a cult?
Flat
The
Earth is a
globe,
cult.
obviously. Oh, well, that's very confusing.
Flat Earth is a cult.
No, I mean like a cult, like OCCULT. Like,
Oh, is that what they said?
yeah.
Oh,
Wrong.
well, there is some of that in Flat Earth for sure. A lot of that.
This one from Jack Fetter says, do flurfs, in all caps, realize when people talk, they use inflection. Sometimes they have varying pitch and introduce pauses, and sometimes full stops when talking.
I was not aware of that. No.
Never met her.
You guys, this one from Desmond Smith says, dude, forget you guys for judging my $2. I'm never going to watch this channel again. And I had to pay $5 just to make this post. Forget you.
I'm sorry, James. I meant for that to go the other way, to be honest.
This one from Noah's Ark, Kansas says, the globe earthers never answered how it benefited their life. Maybe I missed it.
The
Good.
sweet, sweet NASA money.
Mm.
All of $0 so far.
Yeah.
But it's counting. It's going to go up logarithmically.
It's made my hair gray, and it's made me tired because I stay up late doing it. So I don't know. I don't think it benefits me at all. Other than entertainment, it's fun.
That's sad. This one coming in from Noah's Ark, Kansas said, the globe earthers never we got that. Child of Yahweh MD. This person's been triggered by me all night. Citation for refraction in chat. I can't post here. I get what you're saying. So Tony Coriolis says, what is everyone's favorite constellation? Like Orion's Belt or the Big Dipper?
Yeah, I like the Big Yipper.
I like the DeLorean. It's at 42 degrees north latitude.
You got it.
I like octans.
That's a good one.
Tony Coriolis says, we got that one. Anybody else? Earthly Skeptic says,
Shane, don't act like you don't have a favorite constellation, bro. Get in there.
Aquarius, probably, right?
Oh, Aquarii 31 or whatever.
Aquarius.
Or 39.
This one from Earthly Skeptic says, flat earthers curious where the quote 2,226 meter unquote figure came from.
Height of the peak from Google Earth plus the observer height, I think.
Google Earth. He used the globe for that, by the way.
The graticule, right? You can't distinguish the graticule from the globe.
No, it's not the
Well, it seems like we have a situation here where someone who wasn't asked a question is now chiming in as if they were asked. So that should probably stop, and we're going to move on to the next question. The idea of, oh, you used the globe there, we already covered that. So the fact that you feel you need to keep reintroducing that every time means that you're scared and afraid. So just shut up and don't talk, and let us get through the next questions.
OAMD says, MC Toon, will you debate origin of life / intelligent design evidence?
No, I don't debate that. What I do when I debate, I make the other side take the factually wrong position. So that topic, I don't know the factually wrong position there.
Sarcastic Warlock says, if the Earth is truly flat, then why does Australia exist, and why are the people there nothing but criminals and savages?
Well,
It's,
you know what,
they're white, so you
you
can
know
say
what they
that.
say about the Australians.
Yes. Go on.
James. No, you know what they say.
Yeah, he just said they're all criminals and savages.
No,
And it's
you were
okay because they're white. We can say that.
no, you were talking about it earlier before the show started.
Oh yeah. It's in their bloodline. The Australians are like that. This one from a let's see. By the way, why can't I say honky? Because I don't see why that's so bad. Or what's the other one that I'm not supposed to say, cracker? That's like, if it's supposed to be something that we, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot MC Toon is streaming this too, and so is Mick Glowface. Well, I should be able to say that. It's not.
Oh, you say whatever you want. You're good.
From Jesse says, Alan, why do you lie? Don't worry, the algorithm will think I was talking about food. Why do you lie? I showed you that topography and star azimuth angles prove it was Greenhorn Mountain. That's why you won't debate me.
No, I won't debate you because you're dishonest. I specifically went over the relative elevation difference and the distance between them and how it would be geometrically impossible for the slope to be going upwards from a peak that's physically geometrically lower in reality. Obviously, the error is in the analysis, and we'll have to wait until further measurements and analysis come through, like primarily better viewing conditions, because as you know from analyzing the video, the weather conditions were super poor. So why don't we wait and re-examine it? Or you could try and re-examine the other 39 measurements that don't comport to a globe, right? The reason I won't debate you is because this level of dishonesty is sickening, and I can only tolerate it in small doses. That's why I'll see you on Monday and nowhere else. So if you want to talk about this on Monday, I'll see you Monday at EA, but not here. You want to keep super chatting and chiming in like you got me. You are making a claim where the elevation is geometrically impossible. I'm not super worried about refuting you or following you around the internet to reply to everything you do.
Slithery says, can we donate CC's hair? Is that Conspiracy Cats? I don't understand. Who's CC? Can we donate their hair to Shane, please? Shane, you have lovely locks. Don't listen to them. Noah's Ark, Kansas says, I'm out. Keep moving forward, brother. Thanks for your kind words, Noah's Ark, Kansas. Who is CC, though? I'm looking in chat.
He's another flat earther.
Beta! This one from, let me just load the old 2 seconds. Oh, here it is. Basil Problem says, MC Toon, who smells worse, Alan or Mikey? MC Toon? We must know.
It's Mikey. His foot is rotting because he's got gangrene. Poor guy. He should see a doctor. He's in Canada. It's free. He doesn't see him well enough.
Oh no, PhD Tony, who's from Australia, says, good to see you, Tony. Says, does MC Toon agree that Alan has 0 peer-reviewed work, 0 formal qualifications, 0 real-world qualifications? All he has is, quote, we should believe what he says because he says so.
That is correct, Tony.
This one from Sleeper Spartan says, given the flat Earth, Alan, this is your chance. Jump on him. You know, there were rebuttals before, so to be fair, we can give you a rebuttal. Do you want to jump on him?
No, I don't care at all.
Figuratively.
PhD Tony's retarded. He gets drunk on stream and yells at people. What he thinks is irrelevant. That dude's academic as fuck and acts like a retard.
Jump on MC Toon.
No,
Tony's not defend himself.
I know, but in response to what Tony said to Toon to get me agitated is like aggravating.
We gotta go.
Doesn't mean anything.
Can you make fun of MC Toon instead of Tony? Because MC Toon's right here. Look at him. Look at his self-satisfied face over there.
I like McToon more than Tony.
No. This one from Sleeper Spartan says, given the flat Earth hypothesis that Antarctica is an ice wall, why do expeditions have to turn towards the South Pole to stay on course? Flat Earth would require that you turn away.
We actually have footage of an Antarctic expedition on spaceaudits.net.
That explains all the answers to that question.
You got it. This one coming in from Dr. Haeckel says, oh, come on. They just keep asking it. They need an answer. They say, how does Shane wash his multiple necks? They put it more than once. I can't.
Well, now I know it's a loofah. Thanks, Globy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We totally answered that already. What's this guy's problem? Sleeper Spartan, I think we just got his right. Yeah. Jimmy Madison 42 says, for Shane, why have tides been predicted accurately over 43,800,000 times in the US over the last 20 years, 2 years in advance by using the globe model?
Well, no, they use dynamic tidal theory to make tidal predictions, which is, the sinusoidal interpretation of the main constituent M2, which is the harmonic analysis. But really, they pretend that they're using the equilibrium tidal theory, which is derived from Newton using gravity and constructive gravitational interference from the sun and the moon, which were supposed to interpolate to get the highest high and the lowest low. So no, actually, that's not using the globe. Equilibrium tidal theory isn't used because the Earth isn't hula hooping through a giant tidal bulge of water as it oscillates around. That's not what's causing the tides. There would be a direct relationship. If that was the case, that the moon would be directly pulling the tides. There wouldn't be a 90-degree offset in the highest high. Anyway, also there's many videos.
What's causing it? What's causing it?
ADL.place. Definitely the sun and the moon. The argument isn't that your argument is the gravity. We're saying that it's their other effects, right? You got electromagnetic and electric effects. Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense though.
Well, that's how we argue gravity, right? You argue gravity, you argue electromagnetic. It's the same principle, but it's definitely dependent on the proximity of the sun and the moon.
Nope.
I want to move to the next one. Poor Alan is in Europe. Alan wants to go to sleep. Alan, you're in Europe, right?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Okay, then we're going to keep you here all night. Earthly Skeptic says, flat earthers, when does an angle nearly equal its tangent?
That's an indirect implication of our lack of knowledge of the small angle approximation, I think, but which we do have videos for at adl.place and spaceaudits.net.
This one from Noah's Ark, Kansas says, Alan is such a, this has an asterisk. You talk over me, quote unquote. Go watch. They say, I think they're saying that you say that, Alan. That you say, oh, you talk over me. They say, go watch the last connectly debate. I don't know how to say their name. Alan is such a baby. Don't overtalk me. Sounds like my wife.
Well, if your wife doesn't appreciate being spoken over in a formal debate, and I could see that. She seems like a smart, intelligent woman.
Next.
Jimmy Madison 42 says, I asked my tides question on other stream. Okay, we already read it. Don't worry, Jimmy. Noah's Ark, Kansas says, everything coming from nothing is dumb. Nothing to do with a shape. So PayPal is below. I don't understand. But maybe they put their PayPal in chat. Child of Yahweh MD says, MC Toon, you're right. Temperature is more important than pressure for refractive coefficient making. A negative K value near the surface making things shorter, not taller.
But generally, there's not a negative K value, so I don't know what the issue is.
Okay.
And the examples in from FE Core had a positive K value.
You got it. Let's see. Leophilia says, do we time out for racism? Yes, except for me being able to call people honkies and crackers. That one is okay. Why can't I say it about white people? That's like, isn't it like how certain words?
Can I just specifically measurement 5, 11.4 degrees Celsius at water level, 13.3 degrees at 2 meters. That is a positive K value. I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm going to put it official in chat. No racist slurs except calling people donkeys or crackers. That's a rule. So for real, don't say the other ones, like that's not okay. But do feel free to use the ones that I mentioned. Because Missy True looks so sad. I looked at his face. What? I don't even understand if I'm saying it about white people. Mutton
care.
Chopper.
I don't
Mutton
care.
Chopper says MC Toon, I think they're saying is like a boy, like a child. It's flat. Period. How is the status of the celestial theodolite? Let's go, Shane and Alan. Woo! The Earth is flat.
It sounds like a
That's
great
how-
question. How much was
that's-
that one?
That's how occultist
That
acts.
one was like $20.
Well, you see, that's what we're talking about.
This one from
yo, real quick, how many flat earthers super chatted to insult the boys versus us?
Was it zero?
Is
Was
there
it
a-
less than zero?
Is there an average we can get? Is there a coefficient? Anyway, continue.
Basal Problem says, Shane, I'm worried about your blood pressure. Okay. Your blood pressure. Please check it soon. Okay. Well, that's sweet if you think about it. This
I don't
one
think I
from
believe in
Noah's
blood
Ark.
pressure.
I can't tell if that was Shane or McGlobe Face. Who said that?
Did you start that rumor yourself, James? Is that what happened?
You need help, James.
Okay. It's so hard for me to tell.
Well,
Listen,
let's use our logical brains. He said he's not sure he believes in blood pressure. So would that come from a flat earther or from a guy in a nice coat?
that's a great point.
Okay.
Wait, you can't be real. You can't be serious that you don't believe in blood pressure. You're just trolling and being funny. Like you're joking, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it's funnier if you don't know whether I'm trolling or not.
Okay. Noah's Ark, Kansas says modern day blank blank. I can't say that. It ain't but a thing. Globers having no meaning behind their debating is kind of sad. Go spend time with your family. Why try to convince people of a globe Earth if you have no answer for the previous question? I think that they had asked the question about if it brings you meaning, like what positive benefit does like arguing for the globe Earth give you? I might be wrong. They also brought up the idea of like an idea of a world coming from nothing. I don't know. These guys are doing 4D chess on me with these. Say, go spend time with your family. Who can disagree with that? There's an Artful Dodd Jr. says, Toon/Globeface. How did CC not place in
Top left. Yeah, CC was the 2-year reigning champion of top left, so he's disqualified from running again, of course. You can only win once.
Okay.
Current top leftian champion is Flatzoid.
Plus my boy Fred placing top 3.
Oh yeah, Fred. Good showing.
Calling you out, Fred. Good job.
Coming out of the out of nowhere. He just rushes the stage. Amazing.
Rushes it. The flat stage.
You got it. This one coming in from Noah's Ark, Kansas says, previous question, what was the globe Earth or refuting flat Earth has done for your life / family? I already know Alan and Shane have nothing, which is why I don't ask them. Oh, come on. Jimmy Madison 42 says, Shane, now do inertial tide on the opposite side.
Ooh, that'll be good. Anxious for this.
Okay.
You're talking about the solar and lunar tidal acceleration with the, the moon exerts 2.1 more forces, gravitational forces than the sun. Is that what he means? I don't know. We can keep talking about tides, but it really doesn't matter because what controls it are infodromic points, right? The tidal nodes, points of zero tidal amplitude around which the tidal amplitude oscillates.
That's not the cause.
That's what directly is causing the high and low tides.
That's not.
You said it was the sun and moon before.
Yeah.
what's causing neap and spring. So highest high and lowest low is directly caused by the sun and moon proximity. But daily on the daily tidal amplitude high tide is amphidromic points, topography, winds, that sort of thing.
This one coming in from PhD Tony strikes again, says MC Tune. If tides are not gravitational, as your idiot interlocutors claim, why are they detected by gravimeters? What causes solid Earth and ATM tides?
Now that's it. That's a big challenge. Gravimeters are able to detect the varying gravitational pull associated with that match tides. So it's a confirmation. You can set up a hypothesis, null hypothesis, and it will definitely confirm gravity exists. The Earth is a globe. Tides are caused by the moon and sun and their gravitational pull.
Submarines navigate using gradiometry, gravitational gradiometry, measuring the differences in the gravitational waves.
By the way, we do have a few more questions, but folks, Mick Globeface and MC Tune and Shane and Alan are all linked in the description. Folks, if you enjoy these topics, there's value from hearing even from the opposite side, straight from them. You can go check out their channels right now. They're linked in the description box. It's even hyperlinked, so it's so easy. It's just one single click and boom, you're at their channel. You can check out their content right now as we go through these last few questions. This one from Jesse. Alan, I'm going to debate you on a neutral platform whether you show up or not. You cannot run from your lies forever. You didn't go over stuff as said.
No one cares. Jesse's ignored. No one gives a shit what Jesse says. Being a despicable individual doesn't give you license to repeat shit like that.
Child of Yahweh MD says, I put the peer-reviewed source in the chat showing negative K value at surface.
Peer-reviewed by other flat earthers?
Well, I don't know what he's talking about, because are you talking about the FE core measurement, or are you talking about something else? Anyway, you go to my website, mc2.net/refraction. I have a large list of empirical measurements of refraction, but I'll look at the chat, see if we can find the citation you're talking about.
This one, last one, the man respect X says, if you were eating for your life, how many hot dogs, plain with the bun, could you eat in 5 minutes?
Ooh, maybe like 20 before I got disgusted at the idea of eating that many hot dogs. Like hot dogs in general, just like, I'm not a big hot dog.
What are you, a skinny Asian lad? What the hell?
Dude, but like the mental thing, like they're gross. I couldn't have 20 of them inside of me and then like keep them down. I would reject it.
Oh, nobody clipped that audio.
Yeah.
Don't do it, anybody.
How many hot dogs you can keep inside of him?
going to jail.
Just child of Yahweh, fake MD. I couldn't find your citation. You can email it to me, mc2.net, if you want, or post the I don't know, post the ID. But
This one coming from, oh, I think we got that. Because, yeah, what is it, like Joey Chestnut? He's still the champ, right? Like 10 minutes he ate. What's the most recent? Has he been, he's got like the world record, right? On the 4th of July.
I stopped following it just months ago. I was so into it.
He was so close to keeping up on it.
Yeah, I mean,
he lost it.
If that's not fun and entertaining, I don't know what is on a 4th of July. I don't know what's more American than that. Bob says, I missed the debate. Who won? Well, we'll put a what is this called? Poll in the chat. That's Mutton Chopper says, ask MC Tune if he knows what an interferometer is.
Interferometer.
Oh, yes, they did say that. And they said, if he knows, and ask him who measured the contraction that special relativity completely relies on.
I do know what an interferometer is. And the answer then to the next question is who measured the contraction? Well, the contraction would be that special relativity relies on. That would be, it was confirmed.
Lorentz contraction. So you need to ask him the dynamic cause of the Lorentz contraction, I think.
They said who measured it.
He asked who measured it. Yeah.
You got
So,
it.
yeah. So the Lorentz contraction was confirmed in the muon tests.
This one coming. Okay, let's see. We've got a poll in chat. So, folks, this is your chance. This is like the great big poll because we've basically read all the questions. We've certainly gone through like all the open dialogue and all the opening statements, etc. Like, this is it, the final poll, the one that counts for all the marbles. While we are letting people vote, it's closer than you might expect. Check out our guest links in the description box. Seriously, the guests are the lifeblood of the channel. And folks, for real, this channel just wouldn't exist. It's not that it would suck. It just wouldn't even be. It wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for our guests. Like, they make this fun. Huge thank you to them. Even like MC Toon, you know. So we just appreciate them and watching. We're longtime friends, so it's like it's okay. But yeah. The poll is active right now, folks. Also, if you do check on their links, which I encourage you to do that right now, that's at the podcast as well. Folks, if you didn't know, I hadn't mentioned, all of our debates end up on a podcast, our podcast, and it's available via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. If you haven't checked out Modern Day Debate via podcast, it's amazing. And it has way less ads than YouTube. This one coming in from Lene 2 says suggestion. Watch Ed Horb movement of the Earth. Okay.
I can answer I didn't know who. I had to look it up. So who did the measured the contraction for the muon test? That was published by David Frisch and James Smith in 1962. That's the one that I've used in references before. People did it before. People have done it since.
Okay. All right. We're going to wrap up here. The Basil Problem just said, Shane, have you ever been with a woman? Okay.
Oh, the answer is there's actually 3 videos about that I have on my channel, but you need a lifetime membership to the VIP access to get the Ether Cause bundle, right? To get the sweatshirt at spaceaudits.coffee to get the hat and the t-shirt, and then you can get the answer to that in 3 videos, 3 video form.
I desperately want to know the answer to that question.
Gotta get a
I just
t-shirt.
signed up as you were saying that, and I'm still, yeah. So, folks, I can tell you, you know, if you want to know about Shane's sex life, what are you waiting for? Just click on that. And but yes,
You subscribe to his Only Shanes?
OnlyFans
right.
comes with the on the premium package. I think we should have said that.
There's the last question I think I missed. This one was from Child of Yahweh, says no peer reviewed by Journal of Geophysical Research, MC Toontard.
All right. Well, send it. I don't see it in my inbox right now. So I mean, you can post the DOI link or just the DOI in the chat because you can't do links. Or email it to me. There you go.
Okay. I think that's it. And the poll, I'm going to look over at the poll right now, folks. Now's your time, your chance before I close the poll. And this is going to end up in the live chat, which will be preserved for eternity. Okay. Here's the conclusion of the poll. Team Globe with 66% was voted most persuasive tonight. Flat Earth got 33%.
Freemasons.
Wow.
Obvious Freemasons.
I think that's just how many people of the viewers were globe and how many were flat. I think that's all that tells us. But okay. Congratulations, fellas.
That's probably
Thank
true.
you.
Now, Child of Yahweh MD says that I skipped their last question. No, I just read this. They said no, peer reviewed by Journal of Geophysical Research. MC Toon already answered it. Just scroll back like 120 seconds. You could find it. I want to say thank you so much. Yeah, I did add Mick Toontard. Sorry about that. MC Toon, you're my boy.
All good. All good.
But yeah,
Well, this was fun.
thank you guys. I'll let you go. Folks, check out our guest links in the description box. We appreciate them. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure to have you, Alan, Shane, McGlobeface, and MC Toon.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mike.
sir.
Thank you, Globey guys.
It's
All
been
right,
a
thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Guys, take
See ya.
care.
You too.
Folks, stick around. I'm going to be back in just a
Host has ended the meeting. All right, go ahead and close that out. All right, lads. 1 second. All right, lads and ladettes, for those of you who are still on the YouTubes, right, there is a special going on right now. If you order a hoodie within the next 24 hours, you will be DM'd a code that will give you 33% off on your next t-shirt or hat. And much appreciated to everyone who has come out to support. I know at the beginning of this announcement, I said that I wanted that this was presented in a way that we could all grow together. And it's been overwhelming to the experience, or it's been overwhelming to the experience of the support that's been received, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. It's going great. We couldn't do this without you guys. It's just been, it's been a lot. And it's super, super awesome to see people who haven't said anything in the community come out and be like, hey, I'm here. So it's pretty cool to meet the new people. So if you want to be a part of what we're building, if you liked what I did here tonight, you can go to spaceaudits.net, click the coffee link there, go to the shop, and here's all the merch that we have. We have lifetime membership supports, t-shirts, flex fits hats, and hoodie. If you want to go the extra mile and show your support, cop a lifetime membership and hoodie. Now, the thing with the merch here is that these hoodies are limited edition. So this print for the hoodies is only going to go from the 6th to the 13th. So on the 13th, if you haven't bought a hoodie already, you're not going to be able to get one. And then the hats and shirts will still be available though. And then obviously lifetime membership cards and stuff. And then the next run of whatever we do, since you already have your mutually exclusive card or whatever, you would be able to buy whatever the next mutually exclusive thing is. But yeah, the way that we're going to try and run this is in a way that we become self-sufficient. And as we grow, we can offer products at the same time where we can start to fund our own experiments and be reliant on the community as a whole, rather than, doing nothing and depending on other people and hoping that somebody out there builds an interferometer and measures some ether drift differentials relative to the latitude that falsifies something around here that can't be covered up and ignored. So we would like to be that person. We would like to be those people to continue that conversation. And to do that, this is the extension of how we're going to branch out and grow and survive as an entity that has the financial means to, build an interferometer and do some testing. So we got a lot of goals coming up, and you could stay up to date with that by getting the lifetime membership, where you get the semi-annual newsletter, where we'll keep you up to date with future projects, previous projects, an overview of all the works that have been done. So anyway, I just wanted to say that real quick, and thank you guys again. And then we'll join the lads on Discord and see what they're all up to for the post-debate chat.
So cool.
Lads!
Yeah, McToon says a lot of stuff. I mean, with the celestial theodolite stuff, I mean, he was just absent, and it was just building up, and that's where he exploded with, comments like "look into your panties and find your balls." I mean, if you got to make comments like that, then you have nothing.
Right, and the interruptions were ceaseless.
Well, that was just his an attempt to aggravate and instill an emotional response, to invoke a response, which we did give him a little bit, right? I think I told him shut the fuck up once or twice.
Yo, lads and ladettes, I'm about to wrap up the debate thing. Is there anything we want to say for the after show? I already did an announcement for merch and stuff. So is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about the debate specifically? You're now on air for the after show.
Yeah. Exclusive proof of globe, 0. Exclusive observations of not globe presented, 38. Peace.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. They have zero proof of curvature or motion, and they think they know everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically, their premise was our conclusion that objects in the sky based on their position and time is going to be, so-called mutually exclusive proof for them. But when it comes down to when you can actually introduce a mechanism to test whether or not that's true or not, when that measurement doesn't conform, they argue around it. They act like they don't understand trigonometry. It gets crazy.
So, like, did the actual moderator book for tonight just, like, not make it at the last minute and they shoved James in the chair?
No.
Does he have a mute button? Is he able to mute people? Is that actually possible?
No, but you heard how he was like, it's blood sport mentality. So I think with barring special request or something like that ahead of time, like maybe they just are super lax in that. And it could be an error on our part. We could be the retards in this scenario. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, like whenever we were gonna give a good answer, or whenever whenever I don't want my opponent to answer a question that could be damaging to my case, I can just verbal diarrhea and insert shit and interrupt and just say nonsense every time, like over the top. Like that's an effective strategy, and then it goes away, and they never give their position. That's all he did.
Yeah, it happened a couple
on,
times.
You could ask James, like, that's why I said, like, at the start of the debate, I said I would ask James if interruptions are just free for all or when is it appropriate to interrupt. Because then he makes a discretionary call there, and then you can hold him to his word. If you can get that done early.
Yeah, forgot to do that. So it's all good.
Say all they know how to do is project. They know how to project coordinates onto a sphere and project their insecurities and info.
Dude, I think that dude who asked the tides question follows me around the internet and asks me the same question every stream I do everywhere. It's the weirdest thing.
Dude,
he's all over Twitter. He's all over YouTube. Like I don't understand who he is or what his point is, but he always asks me tides questions.
He sets you up for an absolute banger.
He's never taken no for an answer though. Like I'm always like, "What's that about tides?" I'll answer.
I think they're all paid because no way normal human beings are that shameless and dishonorable.
Dude, they have no God. They're atheists. They have no moral grounds.
You can't tell me that McToon doesn't understand the angular elevation thing and how it was, transformed over to the Earth. You can't tell me he doesn't understand it. He understands that perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Well, they argue like that.
Get it.
Yeah, but I think on the conscious level, they can't separate the globe from the graticule, right? The long lat system which measurements are comported that you use Haversine. They can't separate those two things, and they are distinctly different.
Oh yeah, it's the classic reification. We're going to use the Haversine. We're going to use everything that reifies the globe instead of admitting that the graticule is just the sky above us that was transferred to the ground. I mean, it's really simple. You could still hold on to your globe and acknowledge that fact. If you want to be that dumb,
Yeah, their position is that our cell phones work, planes fly, and technology works. Therefore, science is real. Therefore, globe is real. That's their logic.
Listen, you're using technology to parade your ignorance on the internet right now through a thing called GPS that only works because of relativity and science. So take that. Dude, they all say that every time. Yeah, well.
Well, I can't say that every time I listen to these debates and these completely dishonest people, I get really upset and mad.
I feel you, Liliana. It's hard to not call them a fuckwit immediately, right? Or like just to not to have the thought. It's a struggle.
Well, all right, lads and ladettes, thanks for tuning in to the debate and the debate after show. If you guys would like to continue the conversation on Discord, you can hang out here. We'll probably get into some code names or something later, do a little gaming or something, some community stuff. So come hang out.
Woo!
Right, let me hit the end stream button here. Oh, wait, what do we got coming up tomorrow? So on Earth Awakenings tomorrow, we're doing can timing intervals prove the shape of the Earth in response to GPS using time interval measurements to quote unquote measure reciprocal zenith angles and confirm the globe. So we're going to host that over on Earth Awakenings. So tune in to that tomorrow. That'll be at, I think, probably 10 p.m. Eastern. So look for that around 10 or 11. And then Sunday, we will surely do something. And Monday and Tuesday will be Celestial Theodolite update number 5 or 6. And then, of course, a presentation by Shane on Tuesday to wrap up the last day of the Ether Cosmology merch launch.
And a huge thank you and shout out to everybody who has gotten their lifetime membership and who ordered a hoodies. Thank you to all of you who have stepped up to be a part of this new venture for Ether.
Yeah, thanks for showing up and supporting us all the time. You guys rock.
Yeah, well said. All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. You got to let us know when you get to your what did you say, the 20 memberships? Well,
yep, 20 was 20. Yeah, 20 was the goal. We're at like 13 now, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're trucking right along. All right. See you guys tomorrow.